Chapter 42:12. After all, his past self only had the strength of the seventh godly emperor layer. It was already a miracle that he had made it this far. His past self could withstand the pressure of the soul, but the pressure of the cultivation level was a bit difficult for him. At that moment, his present self walked over and used his great defensive technique to protect his past self. That made the pressure on his past self lessen. On the way, they found many things, but unfortunately, they didn't find the original godly spirit's eggshell. When they were 120,000 li away from the shore, Suddenly, Autumn Moon's eyes widened and she looked in a certain direction. There was something on the ground that was emitting a milky white light. Pure and terrifying energy was emanating from it. That thing was only the size of a fingernail, but it was like a sun, constantly emitting energy. The original godly spirit's eggshell. It's the original godly spirit's eggshell. Haha, we're lucky. The 10,000 gods smiled and said, Miss Autumn Moon, it's yours. Take it. Young master, do you want it? Autumn Moon looked at Lu Ming's past self. She knew that Lu Ming's past self had cultivated all kinds of godly strength. The original godly spirit's eggshell was very helpful to him. No need. You found it, so take it. There must be more at the bottom of the lake. The past self smiled. Autumn Moon didn't insist. She nodded and walked towards the original godly spirit's eggshell. When she arrived next to the original godly spirit's eggshell, Autumn Moon's heart suddenly emitted a powerful 9-colored light. They could vaguely see a 9-orifice heart, the sacred heart of 9-orifice. Autumn Moon's sacred heart of 9-orifice appeared, and a 9-colored light enveloped the original godly spirit's eggshell. Then the original godly spirit's eggshell was absorbed by the sacred heart of 9-orifice. A powerful aura emanated from Chiao Yu's body, but it was retracted in the next moment. She couldn't refine the original godly spirit's eggshell so easily. She had to refine it slowly. After discovering the original godly spirit's eggshell, they were excited and continued moving forward. After a short time, they found another one the size of a fingernail, but this time there were other people nearby. A prodigy from the primordial divine lake also discovered the primordial divine spirit eggshell. However, under the pressure of the myriad gods, the other party could only retreat. This piece of primordial god eggshell was put away by Lu Ming's past self, but from then on, their good luck seemed to have run out. After searching for half a day, they didn't find a single piece of primitive god spirit eggshell. They didn't even find one the size of a fingernail. At this time, they were already about 200,000 miles away from the lakeside. At this point, the pressure was already terrifying. Rumble. At the bottom of the lake, the undercurrent was surging violently. Moreover, it contained a terrifying pressure that continuously battered their bodies. In front of them, there seemed to be a terrifying power that was like a barrier. They advanced a few times, but they were pushed back by that power. This is the limit. Every time I come here, I'll be forced out. Myriad gods Tao, you didn't even go there once. Lu Ming's present body asked. No, I'm guessing that there's definitely a great opportunity inside. Unfortunately, I can't enter. The power is too strong. The myriad gods shook their heads. I don't know if my taboo power can break it. I'll give it a try. Wait for me. Lu Ming's present body stepped forward. Young master, be careful. Chiao Yu said worriedly. Don't worry, I'll be fine. I'll do my best. Lu Ming smiled. He then took a step forward and dashed forward. Boom! A powerful force rushed toward Lu Ming. Break for me! Lu Ming shouted. The taboo power completely erupted and gathered on his palm. Lu Ming slashed out with his palm with all his strength. Boom! Lu Ming's palm collided with the force in front of him, and a violent explosion erupted. A large amount of lake water in the surroundings was repelled to the sides. Lu Ming's body trembled, and his arm kept shaking. However, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He felt that the force in front of him wasn't unbreakable. Under the attack of the taboo power, there seemed to be a flaw, and a gap was torn open. "All right, let's continue," Lu Ming shouted, and pushed the taboo power to the extreme. His palms struck out continuously. Boom! 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 Intense rumbling sounds continued to ring out, and the entire area trembled. The lake water was being expelled, forming a vacuum. Although Lu Ming's body kept shaking, the force in front of him was indeed slowly being torn apart. Bam! Bam! With every tear, Lu Ming took a step forward, and the ground under his feet shook violently. However, with every step, Lu Ming took another step forward. In this way, Lu Ming took more than 10 steps in a short period of time, advancing more than 10 meters. However, what made Lu Ming's heart sink was that the further he advanced, the stronger the force became. The pressure on Lu Ming was also increasing. After a few more steps, Lu Ming's body kept shaking. He was under great pressure. He used all his strength to attack, but it was difficult to continue tearing apart that force. Almost there, thought Lu Ming. He had the feeling that he was about to tear apart that force. As long as he could tear it apart, he would be able to enter the next area. However, the pressure was too great. Lu Ming couldn't break through it no matter what he did. "Ice Xian Rod!" Lu Ming shouted in his heart. He took out the Bingxian rod and attacked with all his might. However, it was useless. It wasn't a problem of attacking power. In terms of attacking power, the 10,000 gods were much stronger than him. In addition, there were many divine, the arch-gods in the primordial sacred lake, those above the 4th level of the divine god realm, and even those at the 7th, 8th, and 9th level of the divine god realm were stronger than Lu Ming. However, none of them could break through. Lu Ming was able to achieve this because of the special nature of the forbidden force. Therefore, using the Ice Xian Rod and attacking with his hand had the same effect. It was the effect of the forbidden force. I can't break it. Unfortunately, my cultivation is still too low. The forbidden force isn't strong enough. If I could break through to the divine emperor realm, I would be able to break through this force and enter. Thought Lu Ming. Let's try again. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He squeezed out the last bit of energy in his body and attacked with all his might. Bang! Finally, Lu Ming took another step forward. He took another step forward. He was even closer to breaking through, but he still didn't break through. He was still a bit away. Lu Ming felt that he was about to break through. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes widened. At this point, he could vaguely see the scene behind the force. Previously, their vision had been completely blocked. They couldn't see what was in front of them, but now Lu Ming could vaguely see something. He was shocked. Chapter 42:13. Lu Ming was shocked. The primordial god spirit eggshell. He could vaguely see the primordial god spirit eggshell in front of him. And it wasn't just one piece, but many pieces. And they weren't as small as a fingernail, but very large pieces. Shocking, extremely shocking. Break in. I must break in. Lu Ming roared in his heart. Although these primordial god spirit eggshells weren't very useful to the taboo body, they were very useful to Wan Shun, Autumn Moon, and his past self. Especially his past self. Although the past and present were two separate entities, they were still one. The stronger his past self was, the stronger he was. It also meant that Lu Ming was stronger. If he could get the primordial god spirit eggshells in front of him, his cultivation would definitely skyrocket. Whether it was the origin divine power factor, the primordial god body, or the origin secret technique, they would all be very helpful. He had to rush in. He had to get it. However, he had reached his limit and couldn't take another step forward. How should he break in? Right, the purple copper coffin. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Let's give it a try. The purple copper coffin should have a lot to do with the primordial god spirit. As long as he took out the purple copper coffin, he should be able to pass. With a thought, the purple copper coffin appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Go over and prepare to break through. As soon as the purple copper coffin appeared, Wan Shen's past self knew what his present self was going to do. He shouted and rushed forward with Autumn Moon and Wan Shen, arriving behind Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming covered the purple copper coffin with his taboo power, raised it and smashed it forward. The void in front of him shook violently as the powerful force kept exploding. Then it was forcefully penetrated, creating a hole. It's really effective. Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he revealed a look of joy. The purple copper coffin was really effective. He didn't even need to open it to directly disperse the force in front of him. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have gone through so much trouble and would have used the purple copper coffin to attack. Behind him, Wan Shen's eyes also lit up. Today, there was hope for him to set foot in this place that he had never set foot in. Boom! 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 Lu Ming swung the purple copper coffin and continued to bombard the force in front of him. The force was constantly being torn apart, and the hole was getting bigger and bigger. It was enough for them to pass through. Quick, get in! Lu Ming's present body roared. Go! Myriad God bellowed. With past body, Autumn Moon's figure flashed as she charged towards the hole. Her figure sank into the hole as she broke through the force that was holding her back. In the end, Lu Ming's present body also dashed into the hole. As soon as he rushed in, the force automatically gathered together. This is when Lu Ming broke in and saw the situation inside, his eyes widened. The eggshell of a primordial god. As far as the eye could see, the ground was littered with the eggshells of primitive gods. The small ones were only the size of a fingernail, while the larger ones were the size of a palm or a plate. Most shocking of all, there were a few pieces of eggshell that were several times bigger than a water tank. There were a total of 3 such eggshells. They were shaped like bowls placed on the ground, but their diameters were more than 3 meters. Within the eggshells, there were strands of light emanating from them. Lu Ming put away the purple copper coffin and walked closer to take a look. He was even more alarmed. The largest pieces of eggshell actually contained some kind of liquid. The liquid was golden in color, as though gold had turned into liquid. It shimmered with an intoxicating luster. At the same time, an extremely rich and ancient aura emanated from the liquid. It was very similar to the blood of a primordial god, but at the same time it was not. This is the egg white left behind from the eggshell that gave birth to the primordial god, Wan Shen muttered to himself as his eyes widened. Egg white. The others were puzzled. That's right. The primordial gods in the primordial divine lake were all born from eggs. After they left, there was still egg white left behind. This is the egg white left behind after the primordial gods left. It's a peerless treasure. Those who cultivate divine power will reap unimaginable benefits if they absorb this egg white and eggshell. It seems that this area gave birth to 3 primordial gods, Wan Shen exclaimed. There are 3 bowl-like eggshells with golden egg white inside. Clearly, there were 3 primordial god eggs. The other small pieces of eggshell were naturally left behind when the primordial gods broke out of their shells. That's great. There are 3 eggshells, 1 for each of you. Lu Ming's present body smiled. He cultivated a forbidden body, so treasures left behind by primordial gods were not very useful to him. Besides, Qiu had no need for these things. Qiu only needed to devour metals or weapons made of metals. Of the 3 eggshells, the past body, Autumn Moon, and Wan Shen would each have 1. Let's keep the smaller eggshells. Don't take these 3 big ones. We will cultivate directly in the eggshells. After all, these primordial god eggs were originally here. It's best if we absorb and refine them here, Wan Shen said. Lu Ming and Autumn Moon naturally had no objections. Then, the group began to put away the surrounding eggshells. The past body, Autumn Moon, and Wan Shen split the eggshells equally. Lu Ming's present body did not take much. He only took some as a token. After all, they were not of much use to him. Then the past body, Autumn and Wanshin each entered an eggshell and sat down cross-legged. Immediately, the golden liquid in the eggshells moved. Like golden ribbons, they wrapped around the three of them. The three of them looked solemn as they cultivated with all their might. It was as though they had turned into 3 primordial gods. This refinement will probably take a long time. I'd better go somewhere else. Lu Ming's present body pondered. Then he wandered around the area. He discovered that the area within a few hundred miles was enveloped by a powerful force. It was like a layer of restriction. If he wanted to enter this place, he had to break through this layer of power. It's very safe to cultivate here. No one will disturb me. Lu Ming smiled. The primordial god eggshells had been left here for so long without being taken away. This meant that no one had entered this place before. This time, if not for Lu Ming's taboo power and the purple copper coffin, they would not have been able to enter at all. Since others could not enter, it was naturally very safe to cultivate here. No one would disturb them. Therefore, Lu Ming planned to leave first and explore the area. Lu Ming walked to the side and took out the purple copper coffin. He planned to break through this force and leave this place first. However, what surprised him was that this time he didn't encounter any obstructions. He actually passed through easily. Let's go to the core of the primordial divine lake to take a look. Lu Ming put away the purple copper coffin and walked towards the center of the primordial god lake. Along the way, he collected some natural treasures. Chapter 42:14. The closer they were to the center of the primordial divine lake, the greater the pressure they faced. In the end, even when Lu Ming used the taboo power, it was very difficult for him to move an inch. I wanted to go to the center to see what's inside, but it seems like I won't be able to. Lu Ming shook his head slightly and decided to retreat. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed. This was because the purple copper coffin in his sea of consciousness had undergone a change. Lu Ming didn't control the purple copper coffin. The purple copper coffin flew out on its own. A force carried Lu Ming forward. Lu Ming felt his body lighten. The external force disappeared without a trace. It didn't affect him at all. The purple copper coffin carried Lu Ming toward the center of the primordial divine lake. It was extremely fast. It was as if the surrounding lake water didn't hinder it at all. In just a few breaths of time, they had flown an unknown distance away, and the purple copper coffin came to a stop. Lu Ming's gaze was first attracted by something in front of him. It was a weapon. It was a war halberd. It was purple in color and seemed to be made of purple copper. Lu Ming suddenly felt that the material of this war halberd was similar to the purple copper coffin. The war halberd was about 3 meters long. It was stuck in the ground. It didn't seem to have any fluctuations or spirituality. It looked like an ordinary weapon. "I want to eat, I want to eat." At this moment, Cho-Cho cried out. Its voice was filled with eagerness and anticipation. It was originally a bracelet on Lu Ming's wrist. At this moment, 2 eyes appeared on the bracelet. They stared at the war halberd with burning flames. However, it seemed like it couldn't charge out. There was a terrifying pressure here. It was only fine in Lu Ming's hands. Crack! Before Lu Ming could think further, the purple copper coffin moved again. The sound just now came from the coffin lid. The coffin lid moved away on its own. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. The purple copper coffin moved on its own again. In his vision, the purple copper coffin rarely moved on its own. During this period of time, it was rare for him to move. Why would it move on its own now? Was it because of that halberd? The purple copper coffin moved away, revealing a small gap. Immediately, a terrifying aura spread out from the gap. Lu Ming felt a terrifying pressure. His entire body tensed up, as if his body was about to be torn apart. It's so scary. What's inside? Lu Ming roared in his heart. Compared to the copper coffin, it seemed that no matter how much progress he made, or how much his cultivation base increased, he was still like an ant. When his cultivation was still weak, he would feel a terrifying pressure when the purple copper coffin was opened. It was as if he was an ant facing a divine dragon. Now, when he had the strength of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer, he still had the same feeling when the coffin was opened. The gap was too big. Fortunately, the lid of the purple copper coffin only opened a little before it stopped moving. Clang! At this time, the halberd moved, releasing a kong-chang sound, and then it began to tremble slightly. Finally, the halberd left the ground and flew towards the purple copper coffin. So it's broken! Lu Ming's heart jumped. After the halberd left the ground, Lu Ming realized that the tip of the halberd was broken, as if it had been cut off by a sharp weapon. The halberd flew towards the purple copper coffin and quickly shrank. It turned into a beam of light and flew into the purple copper coffin through the gap. After the purple copper battle halberd flew in, the purple copper coffin closed with a kacha sound. The crack in the coffin disappeared, and the terrifying pressure disappeared without a trace. What a pity, what a pity! Chiu Chiu sighed. He almost beat his chest and stamped his feet. He was extremely annoyed. According to his instincts, the purple copper halberd was extremely attractive to him. If he had been able to devour it, he would have obtained unimaginable benefits. Unfortunately, the purple copper coffin had absorbed it. What does the purple copper halberd have to do with the purple copper coffin? It's obvious that the purple copper coffin was attracted by it and flew towards it, thought Lu Ming. The purple copper coffin was very mysterious. He had never been able to figure out the origins of the purple copper coffin. Now he had another question. Wang. At this time, the purple copper coffin moved again. A force wrapped around him and brought Lu Ming outside. After a few breaths, Lu Ming returned to where he had been and left the central region of the primordial divine lake. You brought me back. Aren't you going to bring me to other places? Lu Ming muttered. Lu Ming had thought that the purple copper coffin would bring him to other places in the central region of the primordial divine lake. Clearly he had thought too much. The purple copper coffin dashed into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and floated quietly in it. There were no other strange movements. Lu Ming could only move on his own. However, without the help of the purple copper coffin, he could not get close to the central region of the primordial divine lake. He could only wander around the area and obtain some treasures. A day later, Lu Ming began his return. Finally, he left the primordial divine lake and returned to his residence. During the mid-autumn moon, the myriad god and company were cultivating there. Clearly, it would not end any time soon. There was no need for him to wait. After returning to his residence, he silently cultivated in search of a way to make a breakthrough. Rumble. Lu Ming had not cultivated for half a day when the entire world suddenly shook violently. What's going on? Lu Ming's expression changed. The tremors were too intense. It was as though the world was being turned upside down. It was definitely not simple. Lu Ming rushed out of the house. Rumble. Another deafening boom sounded. The sky and land shook violently once again. The entire primordial divine lake world was shaking. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Figures soared into the sky from all directions of the primordial divine lake. They stood in the void and looked up into the sky. The sound of tremors came from that void. Rumble. The tremors grew more and more intense, and the sky began to ripple like water. Chila. Following that, the sky was torn apart, and a very long fissure appeared. Through the fissure, one could see some scenes outside. One could see the starry sky of the universe outside, dotted with stars. In the starry sky of the universe, there were armies standing in the starry sky, exuding a somber aura. Heavenly army. After seeing those figures, Lu Ming was shocked. Those figures were clearly heavenly army. They wore silver or golden armor and were led by divine generals. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of them, and this was only the tip of the iceberg. In reality, there were definitely more people. In addition, there were some incomparably huge figures that exuded terrifying fluctuations. They were bombarding the void and tearing it apart. Through the fissure, a terrifying aura emanated. The Lord of Heaven, Lu Ming's pupils constricted. The heavenly palace was here. Chapter 42:15. It was clear that the heavenly palace had arrived. Someone at the level of the Lord of Heaven was tearing the world wall of the primordial divine lake world and was about to charge in. The primordial divine lake world was different from the ordinary minor kiliocosms. The primordial divine lake world had a powerful world wall and was hidden in the dark void, constantly drifting. Unexpectedly, the heavenly palace could find the coordinates of the primordial divine lake world. Swish, 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 figures appeared in the sky of the primordial divine lake world. These figures all exuded an aura as heavy as a mountain. Each one of them was like an abyss, giving off an unfathomable feeling. Divine masters. These were all divine masters. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. That was because he saw at least 50 figures at a glance. These should all be divine master realm existences. Divine emperor realm existences could not possibly have such powerful auras. The primordial divine lake world had more than 50 divine masters. This was absolutely terrifying. No wonder they dared to go against the heavenly palace. Among them, Lu Ming saw the primordial divine spirit that had saved them. There were also a few figures. Lu Ming also sensed a special aura, which was also the aura of the primordial divine spirits. Clearly, the primordial divine lake world had more than one purebred, primordial divine spirit. Everyone, return to the cities and activate the arrays of the 4 cities at any time. A primordial divine spirit said, his voice spreading throughout the primordial divine lake world. Yes. Yes, sir. Roars rang out one after another. Apart from the divine masters, everyone else flew back to the 4 giant cities. There were 4 giant cities in the 4 directions of the primordial divine lake. These cities were not only used for residential purposes. These 4 cities had arrays that could be combined to activate a powerful array. Lu Ming stood on the mountain peak, unmoving. The god lords hovered in the air, their gazes fixed on the crack. At this moment, the crack in the sky was getting bigger and bigger. Attack, stop them, a primordial divine spirit ordered. At the same time, his body swelled rapidly, turning into a primordial divine spirit. This was his true body. The true bodies of primordial divine spirits were abnormally tall. Boom! This primordial deity had a strange body. It had the head of a tiger and the body of a human. Its body was covered in scales. He held a spear in his hand and thrust it towards the crack. The spear was aimed at the Lord of Heaven, who was tearing apart the world barrier. This was the attack of a primordial divine spirit in its prime. Its power was too terrifying. If it was in the universe, it could pierce through a galaxy. Even a heaven monarch would be severely injured if he was hit by such an attack, even if he didn't die. However, the Lord of Heaven's expression did not change. Your opponent is me. A cold voice sounded, and another figure appeared beside the Lord of Heaven. This was another Lord of Heaven, and it held a golden spear as it stabbed out. Clang! The 2 weapons clashed together, emitting a terrifying shockwave. Then, both figures retreated at the same time. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The primordial divine spirit who had just attacked was definitely powerful enough. It was not weaker than the one who had saved them previously. However, the Lord of Heaven had blocked the attack. This Lord of Heaven was probably stronger than an ordinary Lord of Heaven. Attack! At this moment, the other divine masters of the primordial divine lake all attacked. One divine master had the power to destroy the world. With so many divine masters attacking together, it was earth-shattering. The terrifying shockwaves seemed to be able to pierce through the entire universe. These divine master realm existences bombarded the torn world wall with terrifying attacks, trying to kill the celestial palace powerhouses who were tearing the world wall apart. However, when these attacks approached the torn world barrier, many beams of energy flew in from the outside. Each of these beams of energy was terrifying. They were all from the divine masters, and there were dozens of them. The attacks from both sides collided near the world barrier, and an earth-shattering explosion occurred. A terrifying shockwave swept out in all directions. This shockwave directly hit the torn world barrier. Rumble! There was already a long crack in the world wall, but after being swept up by this force, the crack became even bigger. "Oh no, stop attacking!" An expert of the primordial divine, Lake shouted. It was clear that the heavenly palace had used their strength just now to tear the crack in the world wall even wider. At this moment, the crack in the world barrier was several times bigger than before. They could see the situation outside more clearly. In the starry sky, the heavenly soldiers and divine generals were lined up in rows. There were definitely more than 100,000 of them. In addition, there were many divine masters as well. There were more than 50 of them that could be seen, and some that could not be seen. This time, the heavenly palace had also sent out a powerful force. The 9 Lord of Heaven are attacking together. How rare! A primordial divine spirit said. Primordial divine Lake, do you think you can do whatever you want by hiding in the dark void? We have already captured your coordinates. We wanted to wait for a while and let you live a little longer, but you are in a hurry to die, so we have no choice but to fulfill your wish. A cold voice came from outside the world barrier. A tall figure appeared. He was shrouded in light, and his long golden hair danced in the wind. His aura was very intimidating. It was a Lord of Heaven. When the Lord of Heaven finished speaking, more and more figures appeared around him. Among them, 9 figures had the most intimidating auras. In addition, there were more than 60 figures with terrifying auras. Not all of them were from the heavenly humans. Some of them were from the top races in the universe, such as the angels and the demons. These were all divine master-level existences. The Lord of Heaven was only a title of the heavenly palace. Only the heavenly humans could receive this title. However, not all divine masters of the heavenly humans could receive the title of Lord of Heaven. The Lord of Heaven was a top existence even in the divine master realm. This time, the heavenly palace had sent 9 Lord of Heaven, leading a large number of divine masters to attack. Today, the primordial divine lake will disappear from the universe. A Lord of Heaven said domineeringly, "How arrogant! Let's see who you can kill. Kill!" In the primordial divine lake, the primordial divine spirit who had saved Lu Ming last time roared and charged forward. He punched out and the void shattered. The huge fist smashed toward the divine masters of the heavenly palace. The power of this punch was extremely terrifying, and some of the ordinary godly lords were shocked. Even an ordinary divine master would be instantly killed by such an attack. Swoosh! A Lord of Heaven attacked. His body was covered in dense heavenly power. A battle sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed out, colliding with the fist of the primordial divine spirit. Chapter 42:16. The Lord of Heaven clashed with the primitive divine spirit's attack, creating an earth-shattering explosion. Then a figure retreated. The Lord of Heaven was the one who retreated. The Lord of Heaven was no match for the primitive divine spirit. The Lord of Heaven is only SOSO. Today, I will take the head of the Lord of Heaven as an offering to the primitive divine spirits. The primordial God spirit roared. His tall and sturdy body stepped forward, his aura surging wildly. The Lord of Heaven, who had just been pushed back, was stunned. "Hong, let me be your opponent," a cold voice said. Then a figure appeared in the air. This was also a heavenly monarch. However, this heavenly monarch was a woman. She had long golden hair, fair skin, and peerless beauty. This was a female Lord of Heaven. Damn, Lord of Heaven, you came at the right time. Let me see if you have improved over the years, the primitive divine spirit shouted. The primitive divine spirit who had saved Lu Ming and the others was called Hong. Most of the primitive divine spirits' names were one word. Hong's body was indomitable and in human form. His entire body was covered in scales. When he punched out, heaven and earth would explode. The power was terrifying to the extreme. Fortunately, this was the world of the primordial divine lake. It was formed at the beginning of the world and was extremely stable, just like the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to withstand a battle between divine masters, just like the universe. In front of Hong, Damang, Lord of Heaven, was as small as a speck of dust. However, no one dared to underestimate her. This was because Damang, Lord of Heaven, was one of the most powerful lords of heaven in the heavenly palace. Damang, Lord of Heaven, stood there calmly. She reached out her finger and pointed it casually. Whoosh! A blast of energy shot out and collided with Hong's fist. There was no sound of collision, but Hong's face changed drastically. His body trembled, and he was forced to retreat. A bloody hole had already appeared on his fist, and blood was flowing out. Lu Ming could not help but swallow his saliva. This was the blood of a primordial god. It was such a waste for it to slip away like that. Hong, we haven't seen each other for many years. Your strength is still disappointing. Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, said calmly. Taking a step forward, a formless energy spread out towards Hong. Dream Force. Not good. Hong's face changed drastically. The primordial divine power in his body burst out crazily as he punched out with both his fists. Such an attack was absolutely terrifying. If it was in the universe, a galaxy would be destroyed by such an attack. However, such an attack could not stop the power that burst forth from the Lord of Heaven. However, he was only able to block a portion of it. There was still a portion that he was unable to block, and it continued to envelop Hong. The moment he was enveloped by this power, Hong's movements suddenly slowed down. He became a little dazed, and his eyelids drooped as if he was about to fall asleep. Swoosh! Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, moved. He quickly approached Hong and pointed out another finger. Heavenly punishment. Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, said coldly in the air. A finger force pierced through Hong's forehead at an astonishing speed. Roar! At the critical moment, Hong roared to wake himself up. The primordial divine spirit burst out crazily, enveloping him. At the same time, he tilted his head back. Puff! Blood splattered everywhere. Hong did not manage to dodge the attack completely and was hit. A bloody hole appeared on his forehead. However, he managed to avoid being hit in his vital parts, so he was not seriously injured. However, in his heart, he was secretly afraid. That attack just now was really dangerous. You have improved since you were able to dodge my attack. However, that's all, Big Dream. Lord of Heaven's cold voice resounded. If it wasn't for your dream force, I would not be afraid of you. If you have the ability, let's fight face to face, Hong roared. Ridiculous, Big Dream. Lord of Heaven said coldly. She continued to use her dream force to attack. The scariest thing about the Great Dream, Heavenly Lord, was her great dream power. It was extremely terrifying. Her most terrifying record was when she made a move that made all the living beings in the entire galaxy fall asleep in an instant. It was truly terrifying to the extreme. She was known as one of the strongest Lord of Heaven because of this. How could she give up her strongest attack? Hong retreated again. However, the dream force was omnipresent and fast. No matter how Hong tried to dodge, he was still hit. He became a little dazed again, and his movements slowed down. Heavenly punishment, kill. Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, said coldly. This time, a battle sword appeared in her hand. She stabbed the sword towards Hong's forehead. The power was stronger and faster than before. This time, Hong was unable to dodge it. Hong and Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, exchanged a few moves. It seemed to have taken a long time, but in fact it only happened in an instant. Roar! It was at this moment that another primitive god spirit arrived. This primordial immortal spirit was like a male lion. With a loud roar, the heavens and earth shook. Hong, who was about to fall asleep, was suddenly awakened. He fought back with all his might and blocked Dream Lord's attack. Lion, are you here to interfere? Then I'll kill you too. Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, said. Although she was a woman, she was domineering and charming. She continued to use her dream force. However, the primitive divine spirit, Lion, roared, shaking heaven and earth. It kept Hong and himself awake. He grabbed at Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, with his huge claws. When he clashed with Big Dream, the void shattered and turned into chaos. At the same time, Hong attacked again. You want to win with numbers? Attack together. Another Lord of Heaven roared. He wanted to help Big Dream. Lord of Heaven, you don't need to interfere. Go deal with the others. Leave these two to me. Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, said coldly. The other Lord of Heaven and Divine Lords could only stop and attack the other Divine Lords of the Primordial Divine Lake. Kill! The other Divine Lords of the Primordial Divine Lake were fearless. Both sides fought. With so many Divine Masters fighting at the same time, it was too terrifying. The space was smashed into pieces. They directly entered the dark void and fought crazily in the dark void that was eternally withered. In the blink of an eye, the battle was over. The sky above the Primordial Divine Lake world suddenly quieted down. Celestial soldiers and divine generals attack and destroy the Primordial Divine Lake world. Kill all the living beings inside. A cold voice sounded outside the world wall. Kill! Kill, kill, kill. Battle cries shook the sky. The army of celestial soldiers and divine generals approached the torn world wall. At a glance, they could not see the end. There were more celestial soldiers and divine generals than expected. There were at least 200,000 of them. Array, rise! With another roar, the celestial soldiers and divine generals separated into square formations and formed array formations. Obviously, these celestial soldiers and divine generals came prepared. They could set up array formations with each other. Dazzling light spread out and gathered in the sky. Then, several terrifying divine lights blasted toward the Primordial Divine Lake world. Chapter 42:17. The heavenly soldiers and divine generals set up a grand formation. Terrifying divine light shot toward the Primordial Divine Lake world. Wherever it passed, everything would be destroyed. Grand formation, rise! Grand formation, rise! Ah! Shouts came from the 4 cities in the Primordial Divine Lake world. Following that, the 4 huge cities all emitted dazzling multicolored light. Above the 4 cities, for different weapons condensed. There were swords, sabers, spears, and spears. In the sky above the huge city where Lu Ming was, a long spear condensed. The spear was huge. It crossed the sky above the city and cast a huge shadow. It was even bigger than the city. Clang! The spear vibrated and flew out as if it was controlled by a peerless expert. It thrust out many spear shadows and collided with the divine light. The weapons above the other 3 cities did the same. The weapons formed by the battle formations attacked the divine light. Boom! 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 Explosions occurred above the Primordial Divine Lake world. Violent energy waves swept in all directions. The attacks of the heavenly soldiers and divine generals were blocked. Continue. The heavenly soldiers and divine generals continued to activate the grand formation and attack. However, the attacks of the heavenly soldiers and divine generals were all blocked by the 4 cities. They did not suffer any losses. After all, the Primordial Divine Lake world had survived from the age of incipient God. After many years of accumulation and development, Its strength was very shocking. Otherwise, it would not have dared to fight against the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace's forces were not enough to take it down. The two sides were in a stalemate for a while. The Heavenly Palace did not make much progress. You guys continue to attack. We will support you. At this time, a few more figures appeared beside the torn world barrier. There were 3 of them. One of them was a heavenly human. As for the other 2, one was obviously an angel. The other had a strong blood chi. He should be from the blood race. Yale, the Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming's expression changed when he saw the heavenly human. This heavenly human was an old acquaintance. He was the Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace who had attacked the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The Angel Race and Blood Clan experts beside him were clearly 2 divine masters as well. Be careful, it's the Lord of Heaven from the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming immediately roared, his voice spread far and wide, reminding the people of Primordial Divine Lake. When the people of the Primordial Divine Lake heard this, they were also greatly shocked. In the Heavenly Palace, another Lord of Heaven appeared. It seemed that the number of Lord of Heaven that came from the Heavenly Palace was not 9, but 10. The Lord God of Heaven and the Divine Lords from before had already been blocked by the Divine Lord experts of the Primordial Divine Lake. The battle had gone into the dark void. There were no longer any Divine Masters in the Primordial Divine Lake. The Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace has appeared. Attention, combine the 4 formations. A loud roar echoed in all directions. Buzz! The multicolored light in the 4 giant cities became even more dazzling. Lu Ming felt that the mountain peak beneath his feet was trembling slightly. Waves of primordial and ancient aura emanated from the mountain peak. It was as if a primordial divine spirit was about to awaken within the mountain peak. On the ground, a layer of ancient divine power flowed and then shot up into the sky. Lu Ming stood on the mountain peak and looked into the distance. He realized that the 4 giant cities seemed to have formed a resonance. A light shield formed and enveloped the 4 giant cities and the primordial divine lake. In the blink of an eye, the Yale Lord of Heaven and the 2 divine lords had already made their move. The Yale Lord of Heaven took out a battle sword and slashed with all his might. A terrifying sword light slashed toward one of the giant cities. The sword light was so huge that it seemed as if it was going to cut the city in half. At the same time, the divine lords of the angel race and the blood kindred also made their moves. They attacked with 2 terrifying moves. The divine lords of the angel race and the blood kindred were also very powerful. They were definitely not ordinary divine lords. Even if they were not as strong as the Lord of Heaven, they were not much weaker. Kill! The heavenly soldiers and divine generals also made their moves. They activated the battle formation and blasted out terrifying divine light. Clang! 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 The sound of weapons clashing resounded through the sky. The 4 weapons above the 4 giant cities shot up into the sky and collided with the attacks that were descending. However, this time, the 4 weapons could not block the attacks from the sky. After all, there were 3 more divine lords attacking this time. The 4 weapons vibrated violently and were sent flying back. Cracks appeared on them. In the 4 giant cities, the experts of the primordial divine lake frantically activated the array to repair the 4 weapons. However, the attacks of the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others arrived once again. This time, the 4 weapons could no longer withstand the attacks and were blasted apart. The remaining attacks landed on the light shield formed by the 4 cities. There was a loud explosion, but they were still blocked. Let's see how long this array can block me. The Yale Lord of Heaven stepped into the primordial divine lake world overbearingly and stood in the sky. The other 2 divine lords also stepped forward and stood on either side of the Yale Lord of Heaven. Kill! 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 The heavenly soldiers and divine generals were also closing in on the city. Attack with all your might. break their array, and destroy the primordial divine lake. Their divine lords will also die. They are no match for us, the Yale Lord of Heaven ordered. Then he made his move. A terrifying aura exploded and the sky shook violently. An unimaginably powerful pressure pressed down on the city. Fortunately, the 4 cities were protected by the array. Otherwise, the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others would not need to attack. The pressure alone would be enough to crush everyone to death. Even a peak divine emperor would not be able to withstand such an aura and pressure. Even so, Lu Ming still felt a heavy pressure. It was as if a huge rock was pressing down on his heart, making it difficult for him to breathe. Dazzling sword light slashed down on the 4 cities. Then, bright holy light accompanied by blood-red light fell. Every attack could destroy the heavens and earth. In addition, there was also the divine light formed by the heavenly soldiers and divine generals. Boom, boom, boom. These attacks bombarded the light shield formed by the array, causing the light shield to shake violently. The entire ground rumbled loudly. Lu Ming felt that the mountain under his feet was shaking violently. Fortunately, he managed to block it in the end. However, the attacks of the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others did not stop. They continued to fall. The light shield shook violently and became more and more violent. It could be seen that the light barrier was slowly dimming under the constant attacks. If this continued, the light shield would be broken sooner or later. When that time came, no one would be able to survive against the Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming's face was grave. The primordial divine lake should have a backup plan. Lu Ming muttered. He did not believe that this was all the primordial divine lake had. How could they fight against the heavenly palace with this? They should at least have a trump card. As time passed, the light shield dimmed more and more. Chapter 42:18. Lu Ming's face became heavier and heavier. He couldn't interfere in such a great battle. The gap was too big. This was a battle between the strongest forces in the universe. He wasn't qualified to participate. Sooner or later, I'll be able to participate in such a great battle. That day won't be too far away. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. At this moment, the faces of many people in primordial divine lake also darkened. Boom, boom, boom. The attacks continued. The 4 cities shook more and more violently. The lake water in primordial divine lake also shook violently, creating thousands of waves. Crack! With an ear-piercing sound, a crack appeared on the light shield. Although the crack wasn't big, it made the hearts of everyone in primordial divine lake sink. The grand array couldn't hold on any longer. It had been torn apart. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the grand array was completely destroyed. Seeing this, Yale Lord of Heaven and the others were overjoyed. Stubborn resistance. You'll be destroyed in the end. Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. His body was covered by the power of heaven. Each of his attacks contained destructive power. The angel race and blood race god lords also increased their attacks. Crack! Asterisk crack! Asterisk more and more cracks appeared on the light shield. Terrifying energy seeped in through the cracks. Some people couldn't dodge in time and were hit by this energy. Their bodies exploded and they died on the spot. It's over. Am I really going to die here today? Is primordial divine lake going to be destroyed? Indeed, we can't fight against the heavenly palace. Since ancient times, those who fought against the heavenly palace didn't have a good ending. Many people lamented. Some even began to doubt their own beliefs. Don't panic. The god lords will come and save us. That's right. The incipient god lords will come and save us. Some leaders in the 4 cities shouted, trying to calm the soldiers down. You're still hoping that they'll come and save you? Ridiculous. They can't even protect themselves now. Yale Lord of Heaven sneered and continued to attack. More and more cracks appeared on the light shield. In the end, they covered it like a spider web. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Roar! Right at this critical moment, a violent roar suddenly resounded from the primordial divine lake. Crash! In the primordial divine lake, huge waves surged into the sky. Amidst the huge waves, a figure appeared, standing tall and upright. Incipient God Realm. Someone exclaimed. Incipient God Realm was the honorific title for the primitive God Spirit. Suddenly, another primordial divine spirit appeared in the primordial divine lake. Lu Ming's heart trembled violently. No, it's not a real primordial divine spirit. It's just a soul. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes widened as he realized that this primordial divine spirit wasn't corporeal, nor was it a living primordial divine spirit. Roar! The primitive divine spirit roared and waved his fist towards Yale, the Lord of Heaven in the sky. His power was very strong and very shocking. Humph, you're just a divine soul and you want to fight with me? Then, let me completely destroy you. Yale shouted coldly and slashed down with his sword. With a boom, the primordial divine spirit's divine soul was pushed back. A sword wound appeared on his fist as it was split in half. However, his injured fist recovered quickly. Roar! Roar! Caw! All kinds of sounds came from the primordial divine lake. Then huge figures appeared in the primordial divine lake continuously. All of them were primordial divine spirits, but they weren't corporeal. They were all divine souls of primordial divine spirits. There were more than 30 of them. Some of them were in human form, some were in beast form, and some were in bird form. From afar, it looked as if dozens of primordial divine spirits had appeared in the sky above the primordial divine lake. It was a spectacular scene. The appearance of dozens of primordial divine spirits shocked the people in the 4 cities. Then there was a burst of cheers. Excited, too excited. The grand array was already on the verge of collapse. Now the dozens of primordial divine spirits had appeared. They might be saved. Lu Ming was also delighted. There are so many primordial divine spirits. Legend has it that the primordial divine lake gave birth to 72 primordial divine spirits. Are they left behind by these primordial divine spirits? Lu Ming's mind was racing. At the same time, Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others were also shocked. No matter who it was, they would be shocked to see dozens of primordial divine spirits suddenly. However, Yale, Lord of Heaven, quickly adjusted. Humph, they're just divine spirits. Watch me kill them all. Heavenly punishment power. Yale, Lord of Heaven, roared. An even more terrifying aura spread out from his body. The battle sword in his hand was covered with a layer of terrifying power. That was the heavenly punishment power. The elites of the heavenly human race could control the power of the heavens. The power of the heavens was a very powerful force. However, the power of the heavens could still be evolved. The power of the heavens could be transformed into 4 more terrifying forces, which are the heavenly punishment power, heavenly punishment power, heavenly extermination power, and heavenly ferocious power. Only the top monsters of the heavenly human race could control these 4 forces. Back in the great ancient world, Yiyu, who fought with Lu Ming, could control some of the heavenly punishment power. The Lord of Heaven of the heavenly human race were undoubtedly the top monsters of the heavenly human race. It was not surprising that they could control these 4 forces. For example, Damon, Lord of Heaven, could control the heavenly punishment power. Yale, Lord of Heaven, could also control the heavenly punishment power. Swoosh! With a slash of his sword, a sword light that contained the heavenly punishment power slashed downward. Roar! Roar! The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits roared. Their huge bodies soared into the sky and unleashed all kinds of attacks. The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were naturally much weaker than when they were at their peak. Any one of them was no match for Yale, Lord of Heaven. However, there were too many of them. If 1 was not enough, there would be 2. If 2 were not enough, there would be 3. A few divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits rushed forward and successfully blocked Yale, Lord of Heaven's attack. The other divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits charged toward the two divine masters of the angel race and the blood clan, as well as the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the other two divine masters were strong enough to block the attacks for a while. However, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals were not so strong. Although they had formed an array, they could not block such a powerful attack. Roar! A primordial divine spirit of the primordial divine spirit in the shape of a giant bull stepped on the air and charged over. Its scimitar-like horns crashed into the array of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, causing the array to shake violently. Some of the weaker heavenly soldiers screamed in pain. Their bodies exploded and they died on the spot. Many of the heavenly soldiers with higher cultivation also vomited blood and were severely injured. However, a primordial divine spirit of the primordial divine spirit that looked like a phoenix flew over and sprinkled a large amount of flames. The temperature of this flame was shockingly high. It burned the formation, and many people's terrifying power passed through the formation and killed them. In a few moments, at least 1,000 heavenly soldiers had died. All of you retreat first. Yale, Lord of Heaven, shouted. He and the other two divine masters resisted with all their might, forcing the other heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals to retreat. Chapter 42:19. Yale, Lord of Heaven, roared as he and the other two divine masters fought back with all their might. They temporarily blocked all the divine souls of the primitive divine spirits. The heavenly soldiers and divine generals took the opportunity to retreat out of the world wall. Roar! Roar! The divine souls of the primitive divine spirits roared as they continued to attack. Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the other two divine masters were finally unable to resist and were hit. They coughed up blood and retreated. However, they were powerful and were only injured. It would not be easy to kill them. They used their movement techniques and quickly retreated out of the world wall. The divine souls of the primitive divine spirits did not chase after them. They just hovered above the primitive divine lake. Great! Great! The people in the 4 cities of the primitive divine lake cheered excitedly when they saw the scene. Obviously, most of them did not know that the primitive divine lake had such a trump card. Dozens of primitive divine spirits were holding down the fort. This was a powerful pressure that made it difficult for the people from the heavenly palace to get close. Outside the world wall, Yale, Lord of Heaven's face was gloomy as his eyes flashed with cold light. Lord of Heaven, what should we do? The divine master of the angel race asked. Today, the primitive divine lake must be destroyed. The Lord God's heart must not fall into their hands. Otherwise, they might give birth to an invincible person. This cannot happen. I will send a message back to the heavenly palace and ask the heavenly palace to send more experts. We must destroy the primitive divine lake no matter what. Yale, Lord of Heaven, said coldly as his glabella glowed. He was activating the dreamy heavenly jade to send a message to the experts of the heavenly palace. A while later, all right, the heavenly palace has responded. Soon there will be divine master experts coming to reinforce us. Yale, Lord of Heaven, said. On the side, the angels and blood tribe powerhouses all smiled. They waited quietly. The people in the 4 cities of the primitive divine lake had no choice but to wait with the other party. With their strength, they could only stay in the cities and use the array to defend themselves, let alone attack. As for the primordial divine spirits, they seemed to be only defending and would not rush out to attack. They could only wait and hope that the divine Lord Realm experts of the primordial divine lake could defeat the enemy and rush back to reinforce them. However, many people's hearts were heavy. They knew that this time they were in danger. The heavenly palace had come prepared. Could the strong cultivators of the primitive divine lake really defeat them? Time passed by, second by second. Soon half an hour had passed. Buzz, buzz, suddenly ripples appeared in the void outside the world barrier, and then one figure after another appeared out of thin air. There were more than 30 figures in total. Among them, more than 10 were from the heavenly human tribe, and the others were from other races. For example, the angel race, blood tribe, demon master, battle saint tribe, Buddha race, etc. Most of them were from the top 10 races, and their auras were exceptionally terrifying. Divine masters, they were all divine masters. The hearts of everyone at the primordial divine lake started to sink. In the heavenly palace, another 30 or so divine masters had appeared. How were they supposed to fight? It's great that you are here. There are still some primordial divine spirit souls in the primordial divine lake. They are quite troublesome. Let's deal with them together. Yale, Lord of Heaven, said, "Looks like the power of the primordial divine lake has exceeded our initial expectations. As expected, we can't let these traitors stay for long. We have to get rid of them as soon as possible to prevent future trouble." Another middle-aged heavenly human tribe said coldly with a cold gaze. This man was also a heaven monarch. His name was Yi Fu. He was extremely powerful and had a cold and domineering personality. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and charged into the world barrier. A powerful aura exploded from his body. He held a long staff in his hand, and his aura was like a rainbow as he directly smashed down with it. Instantly, a huge staff struck down at the primordial divine lake, causing the entire primordial divine lake to shake. Roar! Ga! The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits roared and shot into the sky. Their bodies were covered in dazzling divine light as they charged toward Yi Fu. Kill! Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the other divine masters also attacked. The attacks from both sides collided in the void, creating a destructive force. The 4 cities below quickly activated their arrays to defend themselves. Boom! 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 A terrifying explosion occurred. The entire primordial divine lake world seemed to be destroyed. The 4 cities shook violently, and the primordial divine lake surged with huge waves. More than 30 divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were smashed into the primordial divine lake. They were no match for them. After all, these were only the divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits. Their combat power wasn't at its peak, and they weren't a match for a divine master. Facing a similar number of divine masters and Lord of Heaven, the divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were no match for them and were crushed. The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits struggled and shot into the sky again, pouncing toward the divine masters of the heavenly palace. The 2 sides started to fight again. Unfortunately, the divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were no match for them. After a few blows, some of the divine spirits couldn't take it anymore. Bam! A bull-shaped primordial divine spirit was hit by Lord of Heaven's long rod, and its entire head exploded. Then, the long rod pressed down, and the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's body exploded, turning into rays of light and appearing in another place. However, the light was much dimmer, and its energy was weaker. Although it was a divine spirit of the primordial divine spirit and could be restored even if its body was shattered, its energy would be destroyed and it would become weaker and weaker. After a while, it would disappear completely. I have killed a living primordial divine spirit in the past, let alone a divine spirit. You want to stop me? Ridiculous. Lord of Heaven sneered as he waved his long rod and charged forward. A few divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were knocked away, and his long rod hit the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's divine spirit. Bam! The bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's divine spirit exploded again, turning into rays of light and trying to form in another place. Divine punishment! Disappear for me! Lord of Heaven yelled coldly as he grabbed with one hand. Suddenly, endless white lightning appeared and filled the sky, enveloping the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit. This was one of the 4 strongest powers of heaven, the power of divine punishment. Back then, Yu had also controlled the power of divine punishment, but compared to Lord of Heaven, it was much weaker. It was like comparing a candle flame to the moon. Sizzle, sizzle. The boundless power of divine punishment enveloped the bull-shaped primordial divine spirits, divine spirit. The bull-shaped primordial divine spirit let out an angry roar, but the roar immediately disappeared. The bull-shaped primordial divine spirit was completely destroyed. On the other side, Yale, Lord of Heaven, had also destroyed a primordial divine spirit. Normally speaking, a primordial divine spirit would exist for eternity and would be difficult to destroy. However, heavenly monarch realm existences were too strong. They controlled the strongest power of the heavens, and their power was boundless. They could destroy everything. Even a primordial divine spirit would not be able to withstand it. After destroying a primordial divine spirit, they continued to kill the next one. Chapter 42:20. The primordial divine spirits were unable to withstand the attacks of the heavenly palace's experts. They were completely suppressed. As the Lord of Heaven obliterated the primordial divine spirits, the battle became even more one-sided. The battle continued, but the number of primordial divine spirits continued to dwindle. Every few minutes, a primordial divine spirit would be obliterated. Soon, the number of primordial divine spirits decreased from more than 30 to about 20. It's over. We can't hold on any longer. We're going to lose. Is there another trump card in the primordial divine lake? I remember that the primordial divine lake gave birth to 72 primordial divine spirits. The hearts of the people in the 4 cities were extremely heavy. Some of them were even in despair. Some of them hoped that the primordial divine lake still had another trump card. Legend had it that 72 primordial divine spirits were born in the primordial divine lake. Would there be 72 primordial divine spirits? Right now, only 30 or so of them had appeared. Would there be another 30 or so of them? Many people hoped so. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. The primordial divine lake did not move. No new primordial divine spirits appeared, and no other trump cards appeared. Seeing the primordial divine spirits being obliterated one after another, many people were in despair. Was the primordial divine lake really going to be destroyed today? Boom! At this moment, the void shattered. A huge figure emerged from the void and threw a punch at one of the heavenly palace's lords. That Lord God was caught off guard. He was hit and his body exploded into 2. The 2 halves of his body flew out and merged together. However, his face was pale and his aura was weak. He had been severely injured. Hung, you're courting death. Yale, Lord of Heaven, roared and slashed with his sword. That's right. The huge figure that suddenly appeared was the primordial divine spirit, Hung. Boom! Heaven Monarch Yale and Hung exchanged a blow. Just as the 2 of them exchanged a blow, the void flashed and a terrifying energy burst out like a sharp sword, piercing towards the primordial godly spirit Hung. This energy was too strong, too fast, and too ruthless. Hung had just exchanged a blow with Yale, so there was no way he could avoid it. Puff! Blood splattered everywhere as Hung's abdomen was pierced through by this blast of energy. Hung's massive body was sent flying backwards. His body, which was even larger than a planet, had a huge hole blasted open as blood flowed out. Not far away, a figure stepped out, his golden hair fluttering in the wind. It was the Lord of Heaven from the Great Dream. Your opponent is me. The Great Dream Lord of Heaven spoke coldly as the power of Great Dream emanated from him. However, a lion's roar rang out, blocking the Great Dream force. The primordial divine spirit, Lion, appeared and pounced towards the Great Dream Lord of Heaven. At the same time, Hong let out a furious roar and launched a counterattack. The two powerful, primitive god spirits fought against the Lord of Heaven from the great dream realm, breaking through the void and leaving this place. Today no one can save you, the Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. Ah, that's not good. Enemy attack. As soon as the Yale Lord of Heaven's voice trailed off, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals outside the world wall exclaimed. This made the Yale Lord of Heaven's face darken as he was very unhappy. I just said a few words to show off, and you're already yelling at me. What's the meaning of this? He turned his head and was about to reprimand them. But as if he had seen something shocking, his face changed drastically and his pupils suddenly shrank. At this time, the other overlords of the heavenly palace also looked outside the world wall, and their faces changed, because in that direction, a planet was flying towards them rapidly. If it was an ordinary planet, it wouldn't be a big deal. There were too many planets in the universe. However, this planet was different. It was too big. It was many times bigger than an ordinary planet. When it rushed over, it let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. The Dragon Clan's mother planet? What's going on? Why did the Dragon Clan's mother planet fly here? Several divine master realm existences roared, their voices filled with bewilderment. Below, Lu Ming was also dumbfounded. That's right, the planet that was flying towards them was the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The Dragon Clan's mother planet had flown here. This was beyond everyone's expectations. The Dragon Clan's mother planet was extremely huge. As it flew, it let out an earth-shattering dragon roar that shook the universe. The huge planet was aiming at the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. If they were hit, these heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals would be crushed to death. Dragon Clan, you're courting death. The Yale Lord of Heaven roared and stepped out. In a flash, he left the primeval divine lake world and appeared in front of the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Stop the Dragon Clan's mother planet first. The Yef Lord of Heaven also spoke. In a flash, he also left the place and stood side by side with the Yale Lord of Heaven. The other overlords also appeared behind them. I let you guys go back then, but now you're here to join in the fun. Then I'll kill you all, the Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. The battle sword in his hand gave off a dazzling glow as he slashed at the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Kill! The Yef Lord of Heaven also roared. He slashed out with his long rod. It was so huge that it covered the entire Dragon Clan's mother planet. At the same time, the other 30 overlords also attacked. With so many overlords attacking together, the power was too shocking. The boundless starry sky was turned into darkness as everything was destroyed. If this attack was left alone, it could instantly destroy a galaxy. Although there was 1,000 dragons array on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, it could not withstand such a terrifying attack. It would definitely be destroyed in an instant. Once the array was destroyed, even if the Dragon Clan's mother planet could not be destroyed, the living beings on the Dragon Clan's mother planet would definitely die. Roar! At this moment, a terrifying dragon roar came from the Dragon Clan's mother planet. This dragon roar was earth-shattering and instantly spread out a few galaxies. Then, a huge black dragon appeared on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. This black dragon only had 5 dragon claws. It looked like a 5-clawed black dragon, but the aura that it gave off was extremely terrifying. It suppressed the starry sky and caused it to tremble. With a loud dragon roar, the black dragon flew out. Its dragon claws covered the starry sky as it stepped on it. It actually covered the attacks of the 30 overlords. Boom! A terrifying roar sounded. The huge black dragon flew back and floated above the Dragon Clan's mother planet again. However, the attacks of the several dozen divine masters had all been blocked. At this moment, the dozens of overlords, including the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others, were all stunned. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. These 30 overliving beings were all overlords. Among them, there were 2 Lord of Heaven and a few other overlords. Their combat strength was not much weaker than the Lord of Heaven. With so many people joining forces, how terrifying was the power! Even the damning Lord of Heaven would not be able to block it head-on. However, the black dragon managed to block it. Chapter 42:21. Ao Qian, how did you recover so quickly? Yale shouted in shock. That was right. The 5-clawed black dragon that had rushed out from the dragon tribe's mother planet was Ao Qian, the world annihilation black dragon. Although I haven't recovered much, it's more than enough to deal with all of you, Ao Qian said. His voice was deep and domineering. I don't believe it. You almost died back then. How can you recover from such serious injuries? You're just holding on. Let's attack together. He won't be able to last more than a few moves. Yale, Lord of Heaven, roared. His combat sword emitted a dazzling light as he unleashed the full power of God's punishment. Swoosh! A terrifying sword shadow slashed towards Ao Qian. God's punishment be destroyed! Yale, Lord of Heaven, roared as well. His long staff slashed down. One could see countless white thunderbolts on the long staff. That was the power of God's punishment. At the same time, the other divine masters also unleashed their trump cards and attacked Ao Qian. The second wave of attacks was even more violent and terrifying than the first. Roar! Ao Qian roared as his body grew rapidly. His huge dragon body twisted as he stepped out with his dragon claws. Rays of terrifying black light flew out from his dragon claws and pierced through the universe. They collided with the attacks of Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others. There was a loud explosion. This time, there was still no clear winner. Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others' attacks were blocked. Ao Qian twisted his body, and the space was torn apart. He rushed into the space and disappeared. In the next moment, a dragon claw suddenly appeared beside one of the divine masters and grabbed at him. The divine master was shocked. He wanted to break open the void and escape, but it was too late. With a bang, the divine master was torn apart by the black dragon claw. Everything was obliterated, and the divine master died on the spot. A divine master was killed just like that. Damn it! Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others roared as they attacked the void with all their might. The void exploded, and Ao Qian's figure was revealed. Several attacks landed on Ao Qian's body. Ao Qian's body trembled, and he was sent flying. Unfortunately, it did not cause any harm to Ao Qian. Only a few shallow marks appeared on the scales on his body. Ao Qian's strength was many times stronger than when Lu Ming was on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Back then, even with the help of the Dragon Clan's mother planet, he still couldn't deal with Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the other divine masters working together. In the end, it was Fei Huang's soul incarnation that made Yale and the others retreat. But now, Ao Qian was able to suppress Yale and the others on his own. One had to know that Yale and the others had dozens of divine Master Realm existences. No wonder Yale was so shocked. When Ao Qian was at his peak, Yale was naturally no match for him. When he saw Ao Qian, he would definitely turn around and run as fast as he could. However, he knew very well that Ao Qian had been severely injured in the dragon-slaying battle. Many people even thought that Ao Qian had been killed. Later on, they found out that Ao Qian was still alive. But even if he wasn't dead, he was just at death's door. He was extremely weak and had barely reached the divine Master Realm. Logically speaking, it was almost impossible for him to recover from such a serious injury. But how many years had it been? How could Ao Qian have recovered to such a level? What happened? Boom! Ao Qian retreated, twisted his body, and charged toward the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others. His body had shrunk to only about 10 meters long, but his speed was shockingly fast. With a twist of his body, he charged toward Yale and the others like a bolt of lightning. He dodged the attacks and charged toward a divine Master Realm expert. Whoosh! When he was close enough, Ao Qian's dragon armor flew out and slashed out like two curved blades. Poof! The head of the divine master in front flew high into the air. Blood splattered for hundreds of millions of miles and shattered the meteorite. His head was chopped off, but he was still alive. His eyes were filled with fear. He controlled the head and wanted to escape, but there were two dragon horns. Before he could retreat, the second dragon horn was chopped off. The head was cut in half. His soul was destroyed, and he died on the spot. The second divine master was killed. This time, the other divine masters were frightened. They frantically retreated to distance themselves from Ao Qian. Don't split up. Gather together. Don't give him a chance to attack us one by one. The Lord of Heaven roared. He was very fast. With a swing of his staff, streaks of white lightning burst out and hit Ao Qian's two dragon horns. The two dragon horns flew out and returned to Ao Qian's head. The Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others took the opportunity to gather together and retreat quickly. They were like an iron bucket. Kill! Ao Qian roared and charged forward. He launched an attack and fought with the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others. However, the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others had learned their lesson this time. They gathered together and attacked and retreated together. For a time, Ao Qian couldn't succeed. He could only suppress the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others. Just like that, the battle went on for more than 10 rounds. Neither side could do anything to the other. Who is it? Ao Qian, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly stopped as if he had encountered something terrifying. He quickly retreated to the side of the dragon race's mother planet. His aura merged with the dragon race's mother planet. He looked around cautiously as if something terrifying was approaching. The Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others looked at each other. They didn't feel anything. Ao Qian, I didn't expect your spiritual senses to be so sharp. At this moment, a voice rang out in the starry sky. This voice sounded very old and full of vicissitudes. However, no one knew where it came from or where it came from. It was as if it came from all directions. Crack! Suddenly, a lightning bolt appeared above Ao Qian. A pure white lightning bolt appeared. It wasn't thick, only the size of an arm. It struck towards Ao Qian at an unimaginable speed. Facing this inconspicuous lightning bolt, Ao Qian looked as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The scales all over his body stood up like hair. Roar! Ao Qian let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. The dragon race's mother planet also trembled slightly. Endless energy surged from the dragon race's mother planet and merged with Ao Qian. Then, Ao Qian clawed out with a dragon claw. This was his strongest attack in his current state. It gathered the power of the dragon race's mother planet. Boom! The dragon claw caught the pure white lightning bolt. There was an earth-shattering explosion. The endless starry sky trembled. Many living beings on the life planets looked at the starry sky in horror, as if a catastrophe was about to befall them. After the violent explosion, Ao Qian's body trembled violently and he retreated. Even the dragon race's mother planet was the same. Ao Qian retreated rapidly until he was billions of miles away. One could see that Ao Qian's dragon claw was badly mutilated. It was pitch black and looked charred. Not only that, but there were also wounds on his body. One could vaguely see tiny lightning bolts swimming around. Chapter 42:22. One move. Just one move and Ao Qian was injured. Moreover, Ao Qian had gathered the power of the dragon tribe's mother planet. Otherwise, the situation would have been worse. The power of the origin source, Ao Qian muttered. His eyes were solemn. In the distant starry sky, the void trembled slightly, and a figure suddenly appeared. Seeing this figure, Ao Qian's pupils suddenly shrank. He said seriously, "It's you, old man, ancestor." As for Yale and the others, when they saw this figure, they cried out in surprise and revealed ecstatic expressions. This was a member of the celestial race, an old celestial race member. He looked extremely old. His golden hair had lost its luster and was no longer golden. It was like dry weeds growing on his head. His body was no longer straight. Instead, it was hunched over. The wrinkles on his face piled up like a mountain. His eyes were squinted, and there was no luster in them. This was an old man who looked like he would collapse at any moment. However, Ao Qian's eyes were extremely solemn. Yale and the others called him ancestor. The elder from the heavenly human tribe stood in the air and walked towards Ao Qian step by step. Ao Qian's body tensed up. He slowly retreated with the dragon tribe's mother planet. "I didn't expect the primordial divine lake to lure you out. Aren't you afraid of dying in an accident?" Ao Qian said coldly, "The Master God's heart is no small matter. Besides, you have the forbidden body. It's worthy of an old man like me to take action." The old man chuckled, revealing 2 rows of jagged teeth. He stared at Ao Qian with his turbid eyes and said, "Ao Qian, I didn't expect you to survive the battle back then. Moreover, you've recovered such combat strength. I can't let you live. Today, I'll kill you once and for all." As soon as his voice fell, the old heavenly human attacked. At this moment, a terrifying aura surged out of his aged body. As soon as this aura appeared, not only the galaxy, but the entire star region trembled. It was as if it could not withstand the aura of the old heavenly human tribe and trembled in front of him. At this moment, he did not seem to be an old man. Instead, he seemed to be an invincible expert who dominated the world. This terrifying aura also passed through the gap in the world wall and into the primordial divine lake world. The entire primordial divine lake world was constantly trembling. The primordial divine lake's water, which had been surging with huge waves, had also calmed down without a single ripple. What a terrifying aura! How can this aura be so strong? It's several times stronger than the great dream Lord of Heaven. How is this possible? Lu Ming was deeply shocked. The great dream Lord of Heaven was known as one of the strongest lords of heaven in the heavenly palace. However, the aura of this heavenly human elder was several times stronger than that of the great dream Lord of Heaven. What kind of cultivation was this? Above the Divine Master? However, according to the information he had gathered, wasn't the Divine Master Realm already the pinnacle of the universe? Could there be an even stronger existence above the Divine Master Realm? Was this the true trump card of the Heavenly Palace? Under the heavenly punishment, those who violate the rules of the Heavenly Palace will be punished. The voice of the heavenly human tribe elder rang out. Then he pointed out a finger. Sizzle, pure white thunderbolts shot out from the elder's hand. They turned into thunderbolts that covered the sky and covered Ao Qian. Ao Qian's face was extremely solemn. He let out a roar and his body grew rapidly. In the end, he was even bigger than the dragon tribe's mother planet. He opened his mouth, and a bead flew out of his mouth. One could see countless mystical dragons swimming within the bead. This was the treasure of the dragon tribe, the 10,000 dragon pearl. Under Ao Qian's control, the 10,000 dragon pearl roared and countless divine dragons flew out. They flew towards the heavenly human elder and collided with the heavenly punishment. However, the opponent was too strong, and Ao Qian's cultivation was far from his peak. Even with the help of the Dragon Clan's mother planet and the power of the 10,000 Dragon's Pearl, he still couldn't stop the opponent. There were still traces of heavenly punishment that broke through Ao Qian's attack and landed on his body. Puff, puff, puff! Blood spurted out from Ao Qian's body. The scales on his body were also broken, and some of them flew out. Heavenly punishment. Unknowingly, the heavenly human elder had appeared not far from Ao Qian and broke through Ao Qian's defense. A long sword appeared in his hand. It exuded a terrifying fluctuation and slashed towards Ao Qian's head. This was the heavenly punishment, one of the 4 strongest heavenly powers. Not only did the heavenly human elder control the heavenly punishment, but he also controlled the heavenly punishment. It was extremely terrifying. Ao Qian's pupils shrank rapidly. He couldn't block the sword. However, Ao Qian didn't panic. This was because a figure appeared silently in front of Ao Qian. It was a woman. She was peerless and unparalleled in the world. Fei Huang. This woman was the immeasurable heavenly demon, Fei Huang. Fei Huang lightly slapped out with her palm and slapped the celestial race elder's battle sword. Boom! There was a loud explosion that sounded like the Big Bang. A blinding light burst out from the place where the 2 of them clashed. It was so blinding that everyone couldn't open their eyes. Then the 2 figures retreated at the same time. She blocked it. Fei Huang blocked the attack of the heavenly human elder. It's her. Immeasurable heavenly demon. Forbidden. When Yale, Yev, and the others saw Fei Huang, they all exclaimed in shock and fear. Fei Huang, you're just a soul incarnation. Do you think you can stop me? The heavenly human elder retreated a distance and stabilized himself. He looked at Fei Huang coldly. You're also injured. You don't dare to use your full strength, right? Fei Huang chuckled. Her aura was unparalleled. Some divine masters almost lost their minds when they saw her. It's more than enough to deal with a soul incarnation like you, the heavenly human elder said. He held his sword and didn't waste any more words. He directly charged towards Fei Huang. This time, there was no shocking explosion of energy. It looked like a simple sword attack. However, it was too fast. Many divine masters couldn't see it clearly. They had a feeling that they couldn't dodge this sword attack. They could only be killed. Dense demonic qi appeared on Fei Huang's body. Her palms became pitch black as if they were formed by demonic qi. She still lightly slapped out her palm. However, her speed was extremely fast. It was so fast that all the divine masters couldn't see it clearly. Bam! Their attacks collided again. This time, there was only a soft sound. It was like an ordinary person slapping their palms. The 2 figures swayed and started fighting again. The crowd could only see the 2 figures colliding continuously. Then there was a soft sound. Everyone knew that this was a sign that the 2 of them had condensed their strength to the extreme. This was because such existences were too terrifying. Once they fought without restraint, they would destroy the heavens and earth. They would destroy a large area of the galaxy and cause a terrible disaster. Therefore, they had restrained their strength to the extreme. Chapter 42:23. The battle between Fei Huang and the elder from the heavenly human tribe did not cause much of a commotion. However, the fact that they didn't cause too much of a commotion didn't mean that their attacks weren't powerful. All the divine masters present knew that if they were struck by the 2 of them, they would definitely die. There wouldn't be any suspense. The 2 of them were too fast. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. After 50 blows, the 2 of them retreated. They faced each other from a distance of billions of miles. Old man, it looks like you can't do anything to us today. Fei Huang smiled. It looks like I can only fight. The elder from the heavenly human tribe said. His eyes were cold. Boom! Another terrifying aura erupted from his body. This aura was several times more terrifying than before. Rich, heavenly power surged out from the elder from the heavenly human tribe. At that moment, his stooped body actually straightened up. Furthermore, he was rapidly growing taller. The wrinkles on his face were quickly disappearing. His skin became glossy and his turbid eyes were shining with a golden light. His golden hair became dazzling and fluttered in the wind. In an instant, the elder from the heavenly human tribe became younger. He turned into a young man in his 20s. Aren't you afraid of the backlash from your injuries? Fei Huang's face became serious. The demonic qi on her body became denser. It won't take much time to kill you, the elder from the heavenly human tribe said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved. Swoosh! He charged toward Fei Huang at an even faster speed than before. His combat sword whistled and slashed toward Fei Huang's head with terrifying power. Fei Huang's face was serious. She took a light step forward. Suddenly, an invisible wave spread out. This was a realm. The place that it covered was Fei Huang's world. Then, she waved her palms and slapped out. Clang, clang. The two exchanged a few more moves, but this time Fei Huang was completely no match for him and fell into a disadvantageous position. They had only exchanged a few more moves, and her figure retreated explosively. A hideous wound appeared on her body. However, this was Fei Huang's spiritual incarnation. It was not a life of flesh and blood. It would not bleed. However, its luster was much dimmer and its aura was weaker. Fei Huang's power was being destroyed. Fei Huang, destroying the soul avatar must have affected your main body quite a bit, right? The elder from the celestial tribe said coldly as he continued to attack Fei Huang. Roar! On the other side, Ao Qian roared angrily. He took out the 10,000 Dragon's Pearl and attacked the heavenly human tribe elder with all his might. Fei Huang also took the opportunity to counterattack. Both of them unleashed their strongest attacks in their respective states. Stubborn resistance, the celestial tribe elder said coldly. The battle sword in his right hand did not stop. He continued to unleash the power of heavenly punishment and slashed at Fei Huang. As for his left hand, he pressed down on the air, and the power of heavenly punishment burst out. Streaks of pure white lightning blasted towards Ao Qian. After 2 consecutive explosions, Fei Huang and Ao Qian's figures retreated rapidly. Fei Huang was hit again, and the light of her soul incarnation dimmed even more. Ao Qian was in an even worse state. The 10,000 Dragon Pearl had been sent flying back, and his body had been pierced through. His dragon body had almost been split in two. He was seriously injured, and he kept coughing up blood. Ha ha ha! Ao Qian, Fei Huang, go to hell! Seeing this, Yale laughed maniacally. What taboo! In front of the patriarch, only death awaits you. Yi Fu, the Lord of Heaven, also smiled. As for the divine masters of the other races, their eyes were filled with fear. Their fear of the heavenly palace grew even stronger. The reason why they were so obedient to the heavenly palace was not because they were afraid of the Lord of Heaven. Although the heavenly palace's Lord of Heaven was powerful, it was not impossible to fight against them. The most terrifying people in the heavenly palace were those old fellows. Fei Huang, send your soul incarnation to hell first. The heavenly human tribe elder did not want to waste any time. He was injured and could not maintain his peak state for a long time. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. He had to end this quickly and completely eliminate Fei Huang and Ao Qian. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Fei Huang said lightly. Her body moved and suddenly disappeared from the spot. When she reappeared, she was already in the primordial divine lake world, standing in the air above the primordial divine lake. Come out, Master God's heart. Fei Huang said softly. She reached out a hand and grabbed at the center of the primordial divine lake. Whoosh! A heart flew out from the primordial divine lake. This heart was the Master God's heart that God Lord Dream Void had brought out from the heavenly palace. Dong dong dong. The Master God's heart beat violently like a war drum. Boundless life energy emanated from it. Fei Huang took the Master God's heart and flew out of the world wall, appearing in the starry sky. Roar! A violent roar came from the Master God's heart. Then it emitted a blinding red light. Within the blinding red light, a gigantic primordial divine spirit appeared. This primordial divine spirit, was even larger than Hong and Lion from before. Just one of his eyes was as big as a planet, standing in the starry sky. Stars could revolve around his body. The moment this primordial divine spirit appeared, he grabbed with his hand. A huge mountain appeared and smashed directly at the heavenly human tribe elder. Everywhere it passed, the starry sky was destroyed and turned into chaos. The heavenly human tribe elder's pupils contracted rapidly. He roared angrily and slashed with his sword. Boom! Their attacks collided, creating a terrifying shockwave. Then the heavenly human tribe elder retreated rapidly. The primordial divine spirit also retreated rapidly. This move was a draw. What's going on? A god lord from the heavenly palace exclaimed. He couldn't believe what he had seen. He couldn't understand why such a terrifying existence had suddenly appeared in the primordial divine lake. It's the Master God's heart. Fei Huang activated the power of the Master God's heart and allowed the original owner of the Master God's heart to appear in the world temporarily. Yi Fu, the Lord of Heaven, said with a serious expression, "The original owner of the Master God's heart? A Master God?" Many God Masters sucked in a breath of cold air. Anyone who knew about the primordial divine spirits knew that Master God was the title given to the strongest primordial divine spirit. Among the primordial divine spirits, only the strongest ones could be called Master Gods. Master Gods were extremely powerful. In the incipient God era, they were the true rulers of the universe. God lords were like ants in front of a Master God. They could be crushed to death with one finger. Now, Fei Huang had activated the power of the Master God's heart and turned into a Master God. One could imagine how terrifying she was. It's just a heart. I don't believe it can fight against me. The heavenly human tribe elder roared. His golden hair fluttered in the wind. His aura reached its peak. With the power of heavenly punishment in his right hand and heavenly punishment in his left, he stepped forward. His body continued to grow until he was even larger than a planet. He stepped toward the Master God. Fei Huang stood on the Master God's head. Her body emitted mysterious energy waves as she maintained the Master God's form. The Master God held a mountain in his hand and charged toward the heavenly human tribe elder. The two invincible existences fought fiercely. Chapter 40:224. Fei Huang controlled the Lord God's heart and summoned the Lord God to fight with the heavenly human elder. Meanwhile, Ao Qian took the opportunity to charge toward the primordial divine lake with the dragon clan's mother planet. Stop him! The Yale Lord of Heaven roared and attacked with all his might. The other divine Lord Realm experts also attacked with all their might. Dozens of terrifying attacks attacked Ao Qian in an attempt to stop him. However, Ao Qian took out the 10,000 Dragon Pearl and used the Dragon Clan's mother planet to launch a terrifying attack. The 10,000 Dragon Pearl turned into the size of a planet and attacked. The attacks of the two sides collided and exploded with a shocking explosion. Then the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others retreated. Facing Ao Qian, who used the 10,000 Dragon Pearl and used the power of the Dragon Clan's mother planet, Yale and the others couldn't stop him even if they worked together. Many of them coughed out blood and retreated with injuries. No one could stop Ao Qian. Ao Qian brought the Dragon Clan's mother planet and approached the primordial divine lake. Rumble! The void exploded and the space was torn apart, revealing a pitch-black space. Ao Qian brought the Dragon Clan's mother planet and charged into the dark space. If one could see through space, they would be able to clearly see that the Dragon Clan's mother planet and the primordial divine lake world were very close. Activate the array and push the primordial divine lake world toward the universe ruins. Ao Qian's voice spread throughout the primordial divine lake world. The universe ruins. Yes, to the universe ruins. In the 4 cities of the primordial divine lake world, someone shouted, "Swoosh! Swoosh!" At this moment, the space above the primordial divine lake was torn apart and figures appeared. They were the divine Lord Realm experts of the primordial divine lake. They could see the figures of the primordial divine, spirits Hong and Shur. However, the experts of the heavenly palace also followed closely behind. "Don't even think about leaving. Our battle isn't over yet." The damning Lord of Heaven appeared. He was unparalleled and domineering as he continued to attack Hong and Shur. At this moment, a dragon roar sounded. Ao Qian took out the 10,000 dragon pearl and attacked the damning Lord of Heaven. Wherever the 10,000 dragons pearl passed, the great dream Lord of Heaven's great dream force instantly collapsed. The great dream Lord of Heaven's expression fell, and he used all of his strength to block, but he was still sent flying by the 10,000 dragon pearl, and he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Big Dream Lord of Heaven was known as one of the strongest lords of heaven in the heavenly palace. He was already standing at the peak of the divine Lord Realm. However, after Ao Qian had used the 10,000 dragon pearl and borrowed the power of the dragon clan's mother planet, Ao Qian's strength had already surpassed that of a god master. No matter how strong the great dream Lord of Heaven was, he was no match for Ao Qian. "I'll stop them. You guys work together to push the primeval divine lake towards the ruins of the universe. There will be people there to receive you." Ao Qian said, "Attack!" The divine Lord Realm experts of the primordial divine lake didn't hesitate to enter the 4 cities. Then they activated their own power and coordinated with the array to push the primordial divine lake world through the dark void and towards the universe ruins. They had to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if more experts from the heavenly palace were to come. The dragon clan's mother planet followed closely behind the primordial divine lake world. "Stop them. Don't let them succeed." The great dream Lord of Heaven and the others shouted angrily. Altogether, there were 70 to 80 divine Lord Realm experts rushing towards the primordial divine lake world. They wanted to completely destroy the primordial divine lake world. Roar! Ao Qian attacked. The 10,000 dragon pearl shone brightly. Hundreds of dragon shadows rushed out from the 10,000 dragon pearl. Although these dragon shadows weren't real divine dragons, they were very powerful. They kept fighting with the divine lords of the heavenly palace. In an instant, they managed to hold back so many divine lords. Of course, this was because Ao Qian's strength hadn't truly reached the realm above the divine Lord Realm. He was only slightly above the divine Lord Realm. Otherwise, even if there were 70 to 80 divine lords from the heavenly palace, they wouldn't be able to defeat him. Ao Qian's strength was far from his peak. However, it was enough to hold back the experts from the heavenly palace. The experts from the primordial divine lake didn't have to worry about the situation outside. They pushed the primordial divine lake world with all their might. The primordial divine lake world and the dragon clan's mother planet traveled through the dark void. They flew towards the edge of the universe at an astonishing speed. They flew towards the ruins of the universe. Fei Huang controlled the Lord God's heart and continued to fight with the heavenly human elder. As time passed, the two of them had exchanged countless blows. Suddenly, the two of them stopped fighting and stood in the starry sky. They weren't far from the primordial divine lake world. The primordial divine lake world flew towards the ruins of the universe at an astonishing speed. However, when Fei Huang and the heavenly human elder were fighting, they intentionally followed the primordial divine lake world. Therefore, the distance between them didn't widen. Fei Huang, even the power of the Lord God's heart can't withstand such exhaustion. "You can't hold on for much longer, right?" the heavenly human elder said. "You don't have to test me. The one who can't hold on is you. If you continue to fight, Your injuries will be uncontrollable. By then, only death will await you." Fei Huang chuckled. Her face was calm. However, the heavenly human elder's face darkened. Fei Huang was right. He was indeed seriously injured. Not only could he not use his full strength, but even if he could, he wouldn't be able to fight for too long. Otherwise, his injuries would be uncontrollable. After a moment of silence, the heavenly human elder made a decision. "All of you come back. There's no need to continue attacking." The heavenly human elder spoke. Of course, he was talking to the powerhouses of the heavenly palace. Hearing the heavenly human elder's words, the powerhouses of the heavenly palace didn't dare to disobey. Their bodies swayed, and they left the primordial divine lake world. They stopped fighting with Ao Qian and appeared behind the heavenly human elder. "Ancestor, why aren't we continuing to attack?" Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, asked. She was very unwilling to give up. "We're almost at the ruins of the universe. When we get there, we won't be able to do anything to them." "I think Fei Huang's true body might be there," the heavenly human elder said. As soon as he said that, the expressions of the powerhouses of the heavenly palace changed drastically. Fei Huang's true body made them terrified. Fei Huang was only a soul incarnation, but she could already kill them. How terrifying would her true body be? In the battle back then, some people had witnessed Fei Huang's true combat strength. It was extremely terrifying. Countless powerhouses of the heavenly palace had died in Fei Huang's hands. Even more than one invincible existence above the Almighty had died in Fei Huang's hands. This was a true taboo. If Fei Huang's true body was really in the ruins of the universe, they wouldn't be able to withstand a single slap from Fei Huang. But Ancestor, that Mu Yin who has the forbidden body, sneaked into the heavenly palace and stole the opportunity of our heavenly palace. Now he has slipped away safely. If this news spreads, it will be a great blow to the prestige of our heavenly palace," Big Dream, Lord of Heaven, said. Although the other Lord of Heaven didn't say anything, it was obvious from their expressions that they had the same concerns. Mu Yun, a junior, first sneaked into the heavenly palace, then betrayed the heavenly palace and left safely. What did he think the heavenly palace was? A backyard? This kind of thing couldn't happen. Chapter 42:25. They could let primordial divine lake world go, but not Mu Yin. If word got out, it would be a great blow to the heavenly palace's prestige. Besides, Mu Yun had a forbidden body. This was even more important than the entire primordial divine lake world. He couldn't be allowed to develop a forbidden body. Throughout history, any forbidden body that matured was a disaster for the heavenly palace. The lord of the primordial divine court, the immeasurable heavenly demon Flying Phoenix, and that Tengai, each of them caused great damage to the heavenly palace. Therefore, they couldn't let Mu Yin go. Don't worry. Since he has entered the heavenly palace and put on the heavenly soldier armor, he can't get away. The heavenly human elder sneered, as if he had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. But ancestral patriarch, the forbidden power in the heavenly soldier armor, was destroyed by the forbidden power. Damang, Lord of Heaven, said, "It doesn't matter. As long as he stays in the heavenly soldier armor, he can't escape from me. Just watch." The heavenly human elder said. As soon as he finished speaking, he reached out a hand and grabbed at the primordial divine lake world. At this moment, in the primordial divine lake world, Lu Ming still hadn't calmed down. Everything that had happened today was too shocking. It was rare to see divine masters, but today, more than 100 of them had appeared. This was really shocking. In addition, people who seemed to have surpassed the divine master level had also appeared and displayed the power of the universe. This was an eye-opener for Lu Ming. It also showed Lu Ming the tip of the iceberg of the heavenly palace's power. It could be said that today's battle had a great impact on Lu Ming. It showed him the peak power of the primitive universe, and it also motivated him and gave him more goals. I'm still far from the divine master level. My first goal is to break through the Divine Emperor level. Then, step by step, I'll reach the Divine Master level. I'll reach the Divine Master level sooner or later. It's not that far away. Lu Ming clenched his fists, full of motivation. Generally speaking, the godly Master Realm was the pinnacle of combat power in the universe. In the universe, most people thought that the Divine Master was the limit of the Divine State. They didn't know that there was a realm above the Divine Master. If Lu Ming hadn't seen the great battle between Fei Huang and the heavenly human tribe elder today, he wouldn't have known that there was an even more terrifying existence above the Divine Master. Right, what kind of place is the universe ruins? Another question popped up in Lu Ming's mind. He had naturally heard Ao Qian's roar earlier. However, this was the first time he had heard the term cosmic ruins. Just as Lu Ming's imagination was running wild, a sudden change occurred. A suit of battle armor suddenly flew out of one of his rings of holding. It was the heavenly soldier battle armor. What happened? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He had no intention of taking out the celestial soldier armor. So why did it fly out on its own? Not good. Lu Ming, retreat. In his sea of consciousness, Bone Devil roared in shock. Lu Ming instinctively wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The celestial soldier armor charged directly at Lu Ming and covered Lu Ming's body like chains, locking Lu Ming in place. Open up. Lu Ming roared and unleashed all of his forbidden power, trying to break free. However, he couldn't move at all. The celestial soldier armor didn't move at all. It was firm and immortal, and he couldn't break free at all. At the same time, the celestial soldier armor produced an irresistible force and flew Lu Ming toward the gap in the world wall at an astonishing speed. Stay! Fei Huang's expression changed. She reached out her palm, and a huge palm grabbed at Lu Ming, trying to stop Lu Ming. Fei Huang, if you attack, I'll kill him directly. The voice of the heavenly human tribe elder rang out. In the next moment, a terrifying energy emerged from the celestial soldier armor and pressed down on Lu Ming from the outside. In an instant, Lu Ming felt as if his body was about to explode from the pressure. Blood seeped out from the surface of his skin. Fei Huang's outstretched palm was forcefully pulled back. Her face was gloomy, but she knew very well that if she attacked forcefully, she could stop Lu Ming. However, before she could stop Lu Ming, the other party could kill Lu Ming first. Now, Lu Ming's life was completely under the control of the heavenly human tribe elder. With this pause, Lu Ming had already flown out of the primeval divine lake world's world wall and into the starry sky. He flew toward the heavenly human tribe elder at an astonishing speed. Bone Devil, take my storage ring and little ball. Hurry up and leave. Lu Ming roared. At the same time, his glabella shone and Bone Devil's body flew out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Rays of light shot out from Lu Ming's glabella. The mysterious ice rod, the gale pearl, and the storage ring all flew toward Bone Devil. Even if he was captured by the Heavenly Palace, he would not let the Heavenly Palace take advantage of him. The Heavenly Palace could forget about getting the treasures on him. Anyway, he still had his past body. Even if he died in the hands of the Heavenly Palace, these treasures could still be handed over to his past body. His past body and present body were one. As long as his past body was still there, he would be fine. In the future, if he continued to cultivate the art of severing 3 corpses, he could still sever his present and future. His body was being controlled, but Bone Devil and Qiuqiu were not. Bone Devil kept Lu Ming's storage ring and treasures, and Little Ball flew out. You! Qiuqiu stared at Lu Ming, reluctant to part with him. Hurry up and leave. Let's go. Lu Ming roared. Another ray of light flew out from his glabella. That was the origin ancient character battle, which was also kept by Bone Devil. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, there were 2 other things that Lu Ming could not fly out no matter how hard he tried. They were the purple copper coffin and the archaic heavenly stone. These two things shrunk rapidly in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. In the end, they became smaller than the tiniest particles. He could not even detect them with his spiritual senses, let alone with the naked eye. If they were not in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, and Lu Ming was connected to these two treasures, he would not be able to detect them. "If you want to leave, stay," the heavenly human elder said coldly. He had already seen the Origin ancient character battle. Although reaching his level, the Origin ancient characters were no longer of much use to him. However, it could be used to nurture the younger generation. The Origin ancient character was still very useful. He could not let it slip away from Lu Ming's hands. He reached out a big hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. "Hurry up and leave!" Lu Ming roared. "Go!" Gu Mo roared angrily and brought Qiu to the primordial divine lake world. However, with bone devil strength, how could he escape from the hands of the heavenly human tribe? However, at that moment, an enormous mountain descended from the sky and smashed onto the heavenly human clan's old man's hand. That mountain directly knocked the old man's hand back. It was Fei Huang. She controlled the master god's heart to attack. After pushing back the heavenly human tribe elder, Fei Huang reached out and grabbed Bone Devil. Interesting. Fei Huang glanced at Bone Devil and muttered, "There are no advertisements on the website." Chapter 42:26. At the same time, Lu Ming had already flown to the heavenly human elder and was under his control. "Let's go!" The heavenly human elder glanced at Fei Huang coldly. Then he took Lu Ming and took a step forward, disappearing from the spot. The other divine lords of the celestial palace, as well as the celestial soldiers and divine generals, flew into the air and disappeared. Fei Huang didn't chase after them. She knew that Lu Ming had fallen into the heavenly human elder's hands. It was impossible for her to take him back unscathed unless her true body attacked. But it was impossible now. What a pity! The primordial divine spirits of the primordial divine lake, the divine lords and divine Lord Meng Su all sighed. They all knew that Lu Ming had a taboo body. A taboo body was supposed to have a bright future. Once it matured, it would be a great enemy of the heavenly palace. But now it had been taken by the heavenly palace. A taboo body that had been taken by the heavenly palace was most likely doomed. "Kid, I hope you'll be blessed. I can't see your fate. Just like that Tang guy, I believe you'll be able to turn misfortune into fortune." Fei Huang whispered as she looked in the direction the heavenly palace left. Then she waved her hand, and the divine lord's body disappeared. The divine lord's heart floated in the air again, held in Fei Huang's hand. Fei Huang entered the primordial divine lake. "Let's go. Let's go to the universe ruins," Fei Huang said. Immediately, a few divine lord elites began to repair the gap in the world barrier. The others continued to push the primordial divine lake toward the universe ruins. In a huge secret chamber in the dreamy heavenly palace, the walls and floor of the secret chamber were covered with runes. In the middle of the secret chamber was a stone platform. The runes on the stone platform were the most concentrated. It was clearly the center of the formation. At this moment, Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged on the stone platform. His body was covered with runes. He was completely under control. On the side, the heavenly human tribe elder, the great dream Lord of Heaven, and a few other Lord of Heaven looked at Lu Ming. "Let's begin. Let's attack together and extract the taboo energy from him," the heavenly human race elder said. "Yes, great dream, Lord of Heaven," and the others replied. Then they stood around Lu Ming, and the power of the heavens emanated from their bodies. Wang. The array formation in the secret chamber was activated and emitted a dazzling light. Lu Ming was enveloped by the light. "Attack!" The elder of the heavenly human tribe let out a soft cry as he quickly formed a series of hand seals. A mysterious force fell on Lu Ming's body. At the same time, several other powerful beings at the level of the Lord of Heaven also made their moves. Together with the heavenly human tribe elder, the power exerted on Lu Ming's body became even stronger. Lu Ming's body suddenly trembled violently. His bones were trembling and his muscles were wriggling. All the cells in his body seemed to be about to fly out. The elder of the heavenly human tribe and the others wanted to extract the taboo energy from his body. Don't even think about it. Lu Ming roared in his heart. He used all his strength to control the taboo energy and resist with all his might. Kid, how dare you resist? You're courting death. One of the Lord of Heaven shouted angrily, causing Lu Ming's eardrums to explode. If you want to kill me, then kill me. There's no need to talk so much. Lu Ming replied coldly. Kid, you! That Lord of Heaven glared at him angrily. There's no need to talk nonsense with him. Focus on extracting the taboo energy, the elder of the heavenly human tribe said. He increased his strength and used all his strength to extract the taboo energy from Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled even more violently. His cells were trembling, and the taboo energy in every cell was also trembling. It was as if a powerful force was pulling it out. However, Lu Ming resisted with all his strength. He focused all his strength to stabilize the taboo energy. He knew very well that his greatest value was the taboo energy. With the taboo energy, he might still be able to survive. However, once the taboo energy was extracted, he would lose his value. Then only death would await him. No matter what, he would not let the other party extract the taboo energy. Under this tug, his body was under a great burden. His skin cracked and blood kept flowing out. His muscles were also torn apart, and his bones crackled with explosive sounds. Fine cracks appeared all over his body. Every part of his body felt like it was being cut by a knife. No, it was 100 times or 1,000 times more intense than that. However, Lu Ming withstood it. This bit of pain was nothing. He ignored the injuries on his body and tried his best to control the taboo energy to prevent the other party from extracting it. As time passed, the injuries on his body became more and more serious. Soon he was covered in blood. There was not a single spot on his body that was unharmed. After a while, his body was on the verge of collapse. If this continued, he would definitely die. Stop! At this moment, the elder of the heavenly human tribe shouted softly and stopped first. After that, the other Lord of Heaven also stopped. This kid, the elder of the heavenly human tribes, eyes flickered with a cold light. He did not expect that Lu Ming's willpower would be so strong at such a young age. Under such great pain, he could still stabilize the taboo energy. The taboo energy was not an ordinary energy. If it was an ordinary energy, any divine master would be able to extract it from Lu Ming's body without him doing anything. However, the taboo energy was extraordinary. The taboo energy had already fused with every cell in Lu Ming's body. It was very difficult to extract it. If they wanted to extract it, they would have to seep it into the 60 trillion cells in Lu Ming's body. It was too difficult. Even with the cultivation of the elder of the heavenly human tribe, he needed to cooperate with a special formation and the help of the other Lord of Heaven to be able to take action. However, it was not that easy. There was a prerequisite. Lu Ming's resistance must not be too strong. If Lu Ming's resistance was too strong, it would be difficult to succeed. Just like just now, if Lu Ming resisted with all his strength, it would be difficult for them to succeed. If this continued, Lu Ming's body would collapse and he would die. The taboo energy was very special. If Lu Ming died, the taboo energy would also dissipate. This was also the reason why they did not kill Lu Ming. It was also the reason why they suddenly stopped. If they killed Lu Ming, they would not be able to get the taboo energy. They had a special use for the taboo energy. Kid, you'd better cooperate. You'll suffer less pain. Otherwise, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. You've tasted the pain just now. If you cooperate, it will end sooner." The elder of the heavenly human tribe said coldly, "Cut the crap. If you want to fight, then continue." Lu Ming replied coldly. Under the effect of the taboo energy, his injuries were recovering at an astonishing speed. As he spoke, the wounds on the surface of his body were about to disappear. "Stubborn. Let's see how long you can last." The elder of the heavenly human tribe said coldly, his eyes flashing with killing intent. A junior dared to talk to him like this. If it were not for the taboo energy in Lu Ming's body, he would have slapped Lu Ming to death. Chapter 42:27. After a while, when Lu Ming's injuries were almost healed, the old man from the heavenly human tribe and the others began to move again. They activated the formation to extract the forbidden power from Lu Ming's body. However, Lu Ming resisted with all his might. No matter what, he would not let them extract the forbidden power. Both sides were in a stalemate. Not long after, Lu Ming's body was on the verge of collapse. His body was tattered and he was in great pain. However, Lu Ming had experienced all kinds of pain along the way. This pain was nothing. Lu Ming did not even make a sound. The old man from the heavenly human tribe and the others had no choice but to stop. This was because if they continued, Lu Ming's body would completely collapse and he would die on the spot. The forbidden power would also disappear. After Lu Ming's injuries were healed, they continued to attack him. This went on for several times. It was a pity that Lu Ming withstood it every time. This made the old man from the heavenly human tribe and the others' faces become extremely gloomy. They did not expect that Lu Ming's willpower would be so strong at such a young age. An ordinary person would not be able to withstand such continuous pain. This kid, old ancestor, what should we do now? One of the Lord of Heaven said. Facing such a Lu Ming, even the Lord of Heaven, who had lived for countless years, was furious. He could not kill him, but he could not let him go either. He was too difficult to deal with. Put him in the 1,000 flames furnace. Let's see how long he can last. The old man from the heavenly human tribe said coldly, "All right, old ancestor is wise." The other Lord of Heaven revealed a look of joy. Then they looked at Lu Ming coldly. "Brat, it is best that you quickly yield and cooperate with us to extract the taboo energy. That way, you will be able to suffer less. Otherwise, you will have to suffer in the 10,000 flame furnace. The pain of being burned by 10,000 flames will be 10 times or even 100 times worse than before." One of the Lord of Heaven said coldly, "Do as you wish. You want me to cooperate with you to extract the forbidden power? Impossible." Lu Ming said indifferently, "You're courting death." The Lord of Heaven was so angry that he glared. "There's no need to talk nonsense with him. Let's enter the 10,000 flames furnace." The heavenly human tribe elder waved his hand, grabbed Lu Ming, and left this place. Not long after, they came to another secret room. There was a huge furnace here. Standing outside, they could feel the terrifying temperature inside the furnace. With a loud bang, the heavenly human tribe elder tossed Lu Ming into the 10,000 flames furnace. The flames of the 10,000 flames furnace will not burn a person to death. It will only burn slowly. However, the pain it brings is 10 times or even 100 times that of ordinary flames. Let's see how long this kid can last. The heavenly human elder said coldly, "Old ancestor is wise. Using the 10,000 flames furnace to refine this brat, his mind will quickly collapse. At that time, he will naturally obediently beg for mercy, and we can easily extract the taboo energy." One of the Lord of Heaven bowed and said, his flattery was obvious, "That's right. The 10,000 flames furnace is no small matter. In history, not many people have been able to last for more than 7 days. I guess this brat will be able to last for 3 days at most." Another Lord of Heaven said, "Well, from the previous situation, This brat's mind is very tenacious and his willpower is very strong. I think 3 days is more than enough, but at most 5 days. The heavenly human tribe elder made a judgment. Old ancestor is wise. The Lord of Heaven flattered him again. They quietly waited for Lu Ming to surrender. Time passed day by day. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, soon, for days had passed, and it was close to 5 days. However, there was still no movement in the 10,000 flames furnace. There was also no sound of Lu Ming begging for mercy. The faces of the heavenly human tribe elder and the others were a little ugly. The heavenly human tribe elder was confident that Lu Ming would be able to last for 5 days at most before begging for mercy. However, it was close to 5 days now, and Lu Ming still hadn't begged for mercy. This made him a little embarrassed. If they didn't know very well that the 10,000 flames furnace wouldn't burn Lu Ming to death, they would have thought that Lu Ming had died in it. They continued to wait. Soon, 5 days passed, then 6 days, 7 days, in the blink of an eye. 7 days had passed. They had previously said that very few people could last for more than 7 days in the 10,000 flames furnace. But now Lu Ming had surpassed. This made their faces even uglier. Lu Ming's willpower was beyond their imagination. The heavenly human tribe elder's face was even more embarrassed. Let's see how long this brat can last. One of the Lord of Heaven gritted his teeth and said. They continued to wait. 8 days, 9 days, 10 days, in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming had stayed in the 10,000 flames furnace for a whole month. Yes, Lu Ming hadn't said a word for a whole month. Brat, are you going to give in or not? Even with the wisdom of the heavenly human tribe elder, he couldn't help but take the initiative to ask. What do you mean by giving in? It's very comfortable and warm inside. Don't let me out. I still want to stay a little longer. Lu Ming's disdainful voice sounded from the 10,000 flames furnace. Crack! The heavenly human tribe elder and the others clenched their fists so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. They almost went berserk. Infuriating. It was really too infuriating. It's very comfortable to stay in the 10,000 flames furnace. Do you think we're uneducated and want to lie to us? This brat, the heavenly human tribe elder, and the others were furious. They felt that Lu Ming was like a hedgehog that they couldn't bite. Ancestor, what should we do now? One of the Lord of Heaven asked. This brat's willpower is more tenacious than I expected. The 10,000 flames furnace is probably useless. How about this? We'll throw him into the heavenly prison. The heavenly prison is filled with terrifying inner demon fire. In the heavenly prison, he will be tortured by the inner demon fire at all times. Anyway, we're not in a hurry. Let's see how long he can last in a few stellar years. The heavenly human tribe elder said coldly, That's the only way. Then let this brat stay in the heavenly prison. Ancestor, go back and rest. Leave the rest to us. One of the Lord of Heaven said. Okay. The heavenly human tribe elder nodded and stepped out of the secret chamber. Several Lord of Heaven pulled Lu Ming out of the 10,000 flames furnace. Brat, you'll suffer less if you give in early. You have to understand that in the heavenly palace, it's useless no matter how hard you try. We have plenty of ways to make you give in. If you insist, you'll only suffer more. One of the Lord of Heaven said. Oh, is that so? I'll wait. Lu Ming replied indifferently. No matter what, he would not let them take away the forbidden power. Humph! Several Lord of Heaven snorted coldly and brought Lu Ming out of the secret chamber. After a while, they arrived at another place. There was a huge whirlpool there. It was dark and kept spinning. No one knew where it led to. Brat, this is the heavenly prison of the heavenly palace. It's filled with inner demon fire at all times. You'll be tortured in there. You can last for a month or 2, but can you last for a year or 2? 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years, or even 10 million years. One of the Lord of Heaven said coldly. He wanted to scare Lu Ming, hoping to destroy Lu Ming's mind as soon as possible. Chapter 42:28. However, Lu Ming's expression remained calm. In addition, it is a place where the heavenly palace imprisons criminals. These criminals are all extremely vicious and evil. Moreover, they have been tormented by the heart flame demon fire for many years in the heavenly prison. They have long gone mad. You will face danger at all times in there. You had better consider carefully to avoid unnecessary torture. Another Lord of Heaven added. So much nonsense. I didn't know that the Heavenly Palace Lord of Heaven has so much nonsense to say. You're so wishy-washy and not straightforward at all. Lu Ming mocked. This kid, several Lord of Heaven gritted their teeth in anger. In the primitive universe, who dared to talk to them like this? If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't kill Lu Ming, they would have ground Lu Ming's bones into ashes. Kid, take this jade talisman. If you've thought it through, you can send us a message. We'll bring you out. One Lord of Heaven said. A jade talisman flew into Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Their main purpose was to destroy Lu Ming's psychological defense and were down Lu Ming's willpower so that Lu Ming would cooperate with them and let them extract the forbidden power. They didn't want Lu Ming to die in the heavenly prison. That was why they sent Lu Ming a message, Jade Talisman. As long as Lu Ming sent them a message, it meant that Lu Ming had given in. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He didn't say anything. Send him in. One Lord of Heaven said. Then he waved his hand. Lu Ming's body flew into the whirlpool and disappeared into it. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the whirlpool, he seemed to be following a passage. Not long after, he left the passage and crashed into the ground. Lu Ming hurriedly channeled the forbidden power to slow down his speed and landed gently on the ground. Then he raised his eyes and looked around. He realized that he was in a desolate mountain. In the mountain, there was a type of black tree that was twisted like a snake. It looked very terrifying. The sky was dark and gloomy. There was no sun or moon in the sky. The entire sky looked dark red. Is this the heart flame devil fire? Lu Ming sensed carefully and found that there was a kind of flame constantly spreading out from the ground. This kind of flame was everywhere in this world. As long as one was in this world, they would be contaminated. This kind of flame enveloped Lu Ming and climbed up Lu Ming's body, constantly burning. The flames were not fierce, but when they burned, there was a kind of heart-wrenching pain. This kind of pain was very easy for Lu Ming to bear. However, it was hard to say if he was locked up here forever. He could endure it for a short period of time, but that didn't mean he could endure it for a long time. This was the heavenly prison. Some people were locked up here for millions of years, tens of millions of years, or even many stellar years. After so many years, no matter how tough a person's mind was, they would not be able to bear it. Lu Ming understood that the heavenly palace wanted to lock him up here. As long as he did not give in, they would keep him here until he gave in. This kind of pain is nothing. Lu Ming sneered. With a thought, every cell in his body trembled slightly. A powerful forbidden power covered his entire body, blocking the flames outside. The pain on Lu Ming's body disappeared instantly. Blocked? So easy? Lu Ming was puzzled. This was too easy beyond his expectations. Logically speaking, the Lord of Heaven and the others in the heavenly palace should know that he controlled the forbidden power. They should also know the mysteries of the forbidden power. Whether it could block the flames here, they should also know very well. If the forbidden power could block it, why did they send Lu Ming here? Lu Ming frowned. For a moment, he could not figure it out. He felt that there must be something he did not understand. After a while, Lu Ming shook his head. Since he could not figure it out, he would not think about it for the time being. Lu Ming began to look around. He spread out his spiritual sense, but his aura was restrained. According to the Lord of Heaven, this was the heavenly palace's heavenly prison. It was a place to imprison serious criminals. There must be a lot of serious criminals. These people had been locked up here for who knew how long and were tortured at all times. They would probably go crazy. He had to be careful. However, Lu Ming looked around and found no one. There's no one around. Could it be that the area I'm in is relatively remote? Well, I can cultivate and improve my strength. Lu Ming thought. In this kind of environment, the stronger one was, the more power they had to protect themselves. Unfortunately, he had given all his treasures to the bone demon. He did not bring them with him. His strength was greatly affected. For example, the Gale Bead, the Ice Mystic Rod, and even the Ancient Origin character battle were given to the bone demon. Without the word battle, his battle strength could not burst out to fight across level 9. He was still a little short. Anyway, I can resist this kind of flame. I'll cultivate here for a while. I still have a lot of ordinary secret techniques that I haven't cultivated. I'll first turn these ordinary secret techniques into secret technique runes and integrate them into my cells to enhance my strength. Lu Ming made up his mind. He still had at least 15,000 types of ordinary secret skills that he had yet to cultivate. He planned to raise his strength to the point where he could fight across level 9. Even if he did not use the battle formula, he would still need to reach the point where he could fight across level 9. Anyway, he did not know how long he would be locked up. He could just cultivate slowly. Immediately, Lu Ming found a relatively hidden cave and entered it. Then he punched out and destroyed the surroundings of the cave, blocking the entrance. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the cave and began to comprehend an ordinary secret technique. When Lu Ming began to comprehend the ordinary secret technique, a spot in his sea of consciousness glowed. Then the primordial god stone reappeared. The primordial god stone emitted a mysterious light that could speed up Lu Ming's comprehension of the secret technique. The primordial god stone has reappeared. What about the purple copper coffin? Lu Ming was surprised. Then he carefully sensed it. The next moment, another wave of fluctuation appeared in his sea of consciousness. The purple copper coffin reappeared. Lu Ming's face lit up with joy. Previously, when the experts from the Heavenly Palace captured him, they naturally searched him from head to toe, including his sea of consciousness. However, at that time, the primordial god stone and the purple copper coffin were hidden to the extreme. They actually escaped the detection of the elder from the heavenly human tribe. The elder from the heavenly human tribe was an existence that surpassed the divine master realm. Even he could not detect them. This showed how mysterious the primordial god stone and the purple copper coffin were. At this time, Lu Ming sensed them on his own. They reappeared. This made Lu Ming more or less confident. At least the purple copper coffin was still there. At the critical moment, he could still use it to fight for his life. Previously, in the primitive divine lake world, Lu Ming was completely controlled by the heavenly soldier armor. He could not move at all. He could not even take out the purple copper coffin. Now, if the Lord of Heaven comes again, I will take out the purple copper coffin and fight for my life, Lu Ming muttered. Then he continued to comprehend the secret technique. Chapter 42:29. With Lu Ming's current realm, the speed of comprehending ordinary secret techniques was very fast. With the help of the ancient secret techniques, the speed was even more astonishing. Even without the help of the primordial divine sound, the speed was very fast. In almost less than an hour, Lu Ming could successfully comprehend an ordinary secret technique, turn it into a secret technique rune, and integrate it into his cells. In one day, Lu Ming could successfully comprehend more than 20 secret techniques. Of course, they were only at the entry level. He did not need to cultivate to a high realm first. He only needed to enter the entry level. In 1 year, he could comprehend more than 7,000 secret techniques. In just a little more than 2 years, Lu Ming had successfully comprehended all the secret techniques in his hands, turned them into secret technique runes, and integrated them into his cells. After integrating so many secret technique runes at once, the power of the taboo power was further enhanced. Lu Ming felt that he was full of powerful energy. His battle strength had undoubtedly increased by another level. Lu Ming estimated that even if he did not use the ancient character battle now, he would probably reach the ability to fight across 9 levels. Even if he was still a little short, it would not be by much. Lu Ming estimated that after comprehending 1 or 2,000 ordinary secret techniques to great accomplishment, his battle strength would completely reach the ability to fight across 9 levels, even without the battle secret technique. Then he would continue to comprehend and cultivate until he could not improve anymore. Time passed quickly. Year after year passed by. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had cultivated here for 30 years. In 30 years, Lu Ming had cultivated another 2,000 types of ordinary secret skills to the phenomenal success stage. In this way, his battle strength had completely reached the level where he could fight across 9 levels. If he continued to cultivate, his battle strength would not improve anymore. 9 levels was the limit. However, recently, Lu Ming discovered an important problem. His heart was becoming more and more restless, and he was becoming more and more impatient. Sometimes he would inexplicably want to get angry, and he felt that it was becoming more and more difficult to remain calm. In this way, the speed of comprehending secret techniques became slower and slower, and the effect was getting worse and worse. What's going on? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. At his current level, if he wanted to achieve mental tranquility, it would only take an instant. In the past, he could instantly enter a state of tranquility and emptiness, which was the same as entering a state of cultivation. But now it was getting harder and harder to do so. She was easily irritated and wanted to vent her anger for no reason. She even wanted to find someone to vent her anger on. Heart flame, devil fire. Could it be that this kind of flame targets not only the physical body, but also the mind and soul? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Thinking of this point, he felt that it was very possible. His physical body could resist the attack with the taboo power. As for his soul, it was scattered in every cell. He could also use the forbidden power to resist it, but he had his own thoughts and thoughts. As long as one had thoughts and thoughts, they would be affected. That should be the case. That's why the people of the Heavenly Palace let me in despite knowing that I have the forbidden power and can block it. That's because other than the physical body, the spirit will also be attacked and affected. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. One could imagine that this was only the beginning. The further he progressed, the greater the impact would be. Could it be that I can't get out of the Heavenly Palace's prison? Lu Ming raised his head and looked at the sky. He came down from the sky, but there was no exit in the sky. If I want to get out, I can't just stay here. I need to find an opportunity to get out. Lu Ming thought to himself. Although he knew that this was the Heavenly Palace's prison and the chances of him getting out were very slim, he still had to try. He ended his cultivation and left the cave. He randomly chose a direction and flew in that direction. The Heavenly Palace's prison was like a huge world. Lu Ming flew high in the sky and looked into the distance. He couldn't see the end of it at all. He could only see the vast and boundless land. This world was the same everywhere. On the ground, the heart flame devil fire was constantly spreading out. The entire world was shrouded in high temperature. No living creatures could be seen. Only some strange, dark trees could be seen. This was a real prison. Half an hour later, Lu Ming, who was flying, suddenly stopped, because he suddenly felt a sense of danger. His body couldn't help but tense up. The danger came from underground. Without hesitation, Lu Ming's figure suddenly rose and then moved back horizontally. Boom! The ground exploded. A figure rushed toward Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Before the person arrived, the sky was filled with the sound of breaking wings. It was a claw light that tore through the void and grabbed at Lu Ming. The speed was amazing. The power was also amazing. Fortunately, Lu Ming reacted quickly and dodged in time. That was how he managed to avoid the attack. Lu Ming retreated a few hundred miles. His eyes flashed like lightning. He finally saw the appearance of the person who attacked him. It was a short man. He was short, less than 5 meters. His back was hunched. However, his hands were covered with sharp nails. They were like extremely sharp blades. His eyes were blood red. He stared at Lu Ming. Blood, blood, I want to drink blood. The short man roared like a wild beast. He licked his lips and his skinny body flickered. He moved like lightning towards Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing. As soon as he arrived, Lu Ming sensed a terrifying strength moving towards him. His skin felt like it was being cut. Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. Lu Ming's heart stirred, revealing a grave expression. That short man had the strength of the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. Even if he only had the strength of the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer, Lu Ming couldn't compete with him. Even though Lu Ming had recovered his strength, he still had the strength of the Ninth Godly Emperor Layer. It would be very difficult for him to fight against an ordinary cultivator of the Third Great Supreme God Layer. If he had the mysterious ice rod, he would be able to fight against an ordinary cultivator of the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. Unfortunately, he didn't have any weapons. He could only rely on himself. He couldn't compete with that short man. If he fought him head-on, he would be killed in a flash. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming retreated rapidly. Blood, I want to drink blood. Stay here. The short man roared and chased after Lu Ming in a frenzy. He clawed continuously, and his sharp claw gleams cut through the space, grabbing at Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing, faster than Lu Ming's retreating speed. Great Aurora Technique. Lu Ming used the Great Aurora Technique. His body turned into a beam of light. In the blink of an eye, he was already a few thousand li away, dodging the attack. Master, we don't have any enmity between us. Why are you attacking me? Shouted Lu Ming. Die. But the short man didn't give up. He continued moving towards Lu Ming. His claws filled the sky, covering hundreds of li. Chapter 4230. The short man's eyes were bloodshot and filled with bloodthirsty killing intent. He charged madly at Lu Ming. Claw lights tore through the air and enveloped a large area. Greater teleportation art. With a thought, Lu Ming executed the greater teleportation art. His figure appeared in the distance, dodging the claw attacks. Then, he quickly flew in a certain direction. Since he was no match for the short man, it was naturally best to escape. However, the short man did not give up. He chased after Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Even if Lu Ming had the greater teleportation art and the greater aurora art, he could not shake off the short man. The main reason was that his cultivation was too weak. The two of them, one chasing the other, flew several million li in the blink of an eye. The short man kept attacking as he chased. Although Lu Ming dodged most of the attacks, there was one claw light that he did not manage to dodge. Fortunately, Lu Ming fully operated the greater defensive art and blocked the claw light. He only suffered some light injuries. I have to shake this guy off as soon as possible. This guy's condition is a little abnormal. Lu Ming's mind kept flashing. The short man's mental state was clearly abnormal. He was filled with bloodthirsty intent. Lu Ming guessed that the short man was affected by the heart flame. The heart flame and devil flame burned the body, while the heart flame affected the soul, spirit, and so on. Lu Ming had only stayed here for a few decades, and his mind was already affected. The short man had stayed here for who knew how many years. The negative emotions in his heart would erupt crazily. There was no way to reason with this kind of person. He could only stay away. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, Lu Ming, who was flying, narrowed his eyes. There was a violent roar in front of him. There were violent vibrations in the air and on the ground. Waves of powerful force swept in all directions like sea waves. Kill, kill, kill! Roars filled with madness and hysteria could be heard coming from the front. Then Lu Ming saw a figure floating in the air, constantly attacking. Yes, there was only one figure. It was an old man with disheveled hair and shocking killing intent. His eyes were filled with madness and nothing else. He was constantly attacking. His attacks had no target, and they blasted large pits in the ground. Lunatic, this is a lunatic. Lu Ming instantly came to a conclusion. He was a complete lunatic, even crazier than the short man. Although the short man was crazy and his eyes were filled with bloodlust, if one looked carefully, one could see a trace of rationality in his eyes. However, the disheveled old man before him no longer possessed the slightest bit of rationality. Only madness remained. Not good, avoid this person. Lu Ming's dashing figure came to a halt. Meng ran, changed his direction, and flew to the left. The short man who was chasing after Lu Ming also noticed the disheveled old man. His speed suddenly decreased. At this moment, the crazy old man also noticed Lu Ming and the short man. Kill, kill, kill. When the disheveled old man saw Lu Ming and the short man, it seemed like he had found a target. He became even crazier. He raised his head to the sky and roared. Then he charged towards Lu Ming and the short man. When he was still far away from them, the old man started attacking. A few palm prints blasted toward Lu Ming and the short man as if they could topple mountains and overturn seas. The power was extremely terrifying. What terrifying strength! He's definitely at the 5th Great Supreme God layer. No, he's not only at the 5th Great Supreme God layer, he's at least at the 6th. Lu Ming was terrified. He wanted to use the greater teleportation technique to escape, but the palm strikes were oppressing him. The space around him was extremely chaotic. Using the greater teleportation technique was extremely difficult. No, it was too late. He couldn't use the greater teleportation technique anymore. So, Lu Ming used the Great Aurora technique and turned into an aurora. In a flash, he was already 10,000 li away. Boom, boom, boom. A palm print crushed the place where Lu Ming had been standing earlier. Everywhere it passed, the void collapsed and the mountain peak on the ground exploded. A gully that was tens of thousands of miles long appeared. That place was the prison of the Heavenly Palace. Of course, it was extremely sturdy. It wasn't like the primitive universe. Otherwise, that palm strike wouldn't have just created a ravine. It would have destroyed the earth and sky. The prison of the Heavenly Palace couldn't be destroyed so easily. Otherwise, how could it keep so many ferocious and powerful prisoners? How could it keep those prisoners forever? On the other side, the short man's eyes were also filled with fear. He turned around and fled, avoiding the attack of the palm print. The short man's mental state was better than the others. He still had some rationality left. He knew he was scared and that he couldn't defeat the old man. Die, die, die. The old man with disheveled hair kept roaring. His body emitted a violent aura as if he wanted to destroy everything. He directly rushed towards the short man. His speed was extremely shocking. It was obvious that he was much faster than the short man. Lu Ming was delighted. The old man with disheveled hair chased after the short man. It was likely that the short man's cultivation was higher. He instinctively chased after the old man. This gave Lu Ming a chance. Lu Ming chose the opposite direction of the short man and used the greater teleportation technique to leave. He prayed that the short man could hold on for a while longer. However, Lu Ming's prayer didn't come true. In just a few breaths, he heard a shrill scream that spread hundreds of thousands of li away. He was killed so quickly. Lu Ming's heart sank. He burst out with all his strength and pushed the greater teleportation technique to the extreme. However, it didn't take long for a violent roar to come from behind him. Die, die, die. The words die made the air shake. A violent chi rushed towards Lu Ming from behind. The old man with disheveled hair appeared again. He was tens of thousands of li away from Lu Ming. He was rapidly approaching Lu Ming. He killed that guy so quickly. How terrifying! Lu Ming looked grave. That old man with disheveled hair was really terrifying. He was definitely above the fifth great supreme god layer. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to catch up with the short man and kill him so quickly. He had to be at least of the sixth great supreme god layer. If he caught up with Lu Ming would definitely die. Lu Ming kept using the greater teleportation technique. Each time, he moved tens of thousands of li away. However, even with his incredible speed, he still couldn't get rid of the old man. The distance between the two of them was getting shorter and shorter. I'm in trouble. If it doesn't work, I'll have to use the copper coffin to try. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. However, at that moment, the situation changed. Roar, roar, roar. Ferocious beasts suddenly appeared in the surroundings. Lu Ming scanned the area with his spiritual awareness and discovered that there were more than 10 ferocious beasts. Those beasts were extremely strong, and their chi and blood were boiling. Chapter 40, 231. The sudden appearance of more than a dozen ferocious beasts with vigorous vitality immediately attracted the attention of the disheveled old man. The disheveled old man had clearly gone completely crazy. His attention was completely focused on the vitality. He would be attracted to those with strong vitality and strength. Previously, the short man was stronger than Lu Ming, so the disheveled old man was the first to chase after him. Now, the dozen or so ferocious beasts were also very powerful. They were like furnaces that immediately attracted the disheveled old man's attention. Kill! The disheveled old man roared. He struck out with his palm and blasted a ferocious beast into a bloody mist. The other ferocious beasts turned around and ran in all directions. The disheveled old man roared and chased after them. This is a good chance. Lu Ming didn't expect to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Suddenly, more than a dozen abnormally powerful ferocious beasts appeared here. He found it strange because this was the Heavenly Palace's heavenly prison. It was filled with heart flame and devil fire. Other than the creatures imprisoned here, there were no other living beings. At least, Lu Ming hadn't seen any other living beings after flying for so long. Other than the disheveled old man and the short man, he hadn't seen any other living beings. It was very strange that more than a dozen ferocious beasts with powerful vitality suddenly appeared here. However, now wasn't the time to think about it. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and shifted in one direction several times. Young friend, come with me. After Lu Ming shifted a few times, he suddenly heard a voice by his ear. Lu Ming was startled. He looked in that direction and saw a skinny middle-aged man on a mountain peak. This middle-aged man was waving at Lu Ming. Lu Ming instinctively raised his guard. However, Lu Ming noticed that the middle-aged man's eyes were very calm. There was no madness in them. This was very different from the disheveled old man and the short man he had encountered before. Young friend, come with me. I was the one who released those ferocious beasts. They won't be able to hold them off for long. They will catch up soon. I have a safe place where we can avoid their pursuit. The skinny middle-aged man continued, speaking with sincerity. So those ferocious beasts were released by this person. No wonder ferocious beasts would suddenly appear here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. After a few thoughts flashed through his mind, Lu Ming flew towards the other party. Lu Ming had considered his decision to fly towards the other party. The other party was right. Although the dozen or so beasts had powerful blood and chi, their strength was only average. They definitely wouldn't be able to stop the disheveled old man's pursuit. It wouldn't be long before the old man caught up again. If this continued, it would be difficult for him to escape. On the other hand, this skinny middle-aged man looked relatively normal and didn't go crazy. If they followed him, they might be able to escape. The most important thing now was to shake off that crazy old man with disheveled hair. Come, follow me. I've set up some interference formations in this area. That guy has already gone crazy, so it'll be easy to trick him. The skinny middle-aged man said as he led Lu Ming in a certain direction. He didn't seem to have any ill intentions. Of course, Lu Ming would not let down his guard so easily. Although he left with the other party, he was always on guard. Not long after, they passed through a dense forest. Lu Ming found traces of formations in the forest, as expected. The formations weren't brilliant and were easy to discover. However, it shouldn't be a problem to use them to confuse the old man with disheveled hair, because the other party had already gone crazy and lost his mind. After passing through the forest, they walked for a distance and passed through several places with formations. Then they came to a canyon. All right, it's safe here. That guy definitely won't chase us. My name is Ronggeng. How should I address you, little friend? The skinny middle-aged man smiled. Muyin, thank you for saving me this time, senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, Hey, don't be so polite. This is the Heavenly Palace's prison. We were all imprisoned here by the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace is our common enemy. It's only right that we help each other. Ronggeng smiled. He was very amiable and gave people a feeling of being approachable. By the way, little friend Muyin, I've never seen you in this area before. Did you come from another area or just enter this prison? Ronggeng asked. I just got here not long ago. There are many things I don't understand. Senior, please enlighten me. Lu Ming said, You're welcome. Come, let's sit down. We'll talk while we eat. Ronggeng waved his hand. A stone table and several stone stools appeared in the valley. There were also several jars of wine on the table. Haha, I used some special means to bribe the heavenly soldiers of the Heavenly Palace to get them here. There aren't many left. Please. Ronggeng pushed a jar of wine to Lu Ming and took one for himself. He opened the lid and immediately a strong aroma of wine spread out. Ronggeng picked up the jar and gulped down several mouthfuls. He heaved a sigh of satisfaction. Lu Ming thought for a moment. Then he picked up the jar and drank as well. Then he sat down on the stool. Senior Ronggeng, what's with those beasts? Are they your pets? Lu Ming asked. No, they're not. Ronggeng shook his head and said, Those are puppets I refined from the essence blood of desolate beasts that I collected in the past. Because they were refined from the essence blood of desolate beasts. Although their vitality is strong, their combat strength isn't strong. They'll probably be killed by that old fellow very soon. Senior, I'm sorry that you suffered such a great loss. Lu Ming said with a grateful expression on his face. Haha, like I said before, the Heavenly Palace is our common enemy. It's only right that we help each other. Ronggeng smiled again. But Brother Muyin, this is your first time here. You must be careful. The inner flames here are horrifying. Ronggeng's eyes were extremely solemn. Senior, please enlighten me. Lu Ming said, The inner flames are everywhere in this prison. This kind of inner flames is horrifying. They can burn the body, the soul, and the mind all the time. The physical pain is easy to endure, but the mental pain is hard to withstand. The longer you stay in the imperial prison, the greater the influence of the heart flame and the more negative emotions you have in your heart will erupt. Some people will go crazy when they can't handle it. Therefore, most of the creatures in the prison will become horrifying because of the outburst of negative emotions. For example, some people are bloodthirsty, some are murderous, some like to torture others, and some like to devour other creatures. These people can only vent their emotions in certain ways. For example, those who are bloodthirsty will kill other creatures to drink their blood. Those who are bloodthirsty will torture other creatures to vent their emotions. That way, they can relieve their pain. Worst of all, they will lose control of their minds and fall into madness. Just like the old man you met before. Ronggeng explained, You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.